Happy Easter, everybody! Yeah, we're here instead of there, but that's cool because we did have this planned, and we're going to take a look at Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. So,
Is
welcome
anybody
to
else
Pez.
getting like the old-fashioned like your mouth is not matching your words kind of thing? Because that's I'm getting like a very Godzilla sense from you right now, Jeff. I don't know if you're lagging or something, but
That's racist.
no, literally I just like saw his mouth moving and not matching up with his words. So like I was like I didn't know if it was anybody else, just me.
It happens on the hangout.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the hangout. Especially because we have 4 people. The more people we have, the more laggy it's going to get, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yes, welcome to Pez of the Mind, everyone. I'm your host, Marcus Shadow. You can see joining me on the far end on my screen. We have Pew Pew.
Hi.
And next to her, we have the shaggy dog. I mean, Chriz the Mole.
Woo!
And next to him, right next to me, James Phoenix.
Oh, well, I'm gonna show off my shirt anyway because I didn't look when I said hi.
Nice. And as you can see, I too am wearing a Batman shirt. I do not have a Batman v Superman shirt, unfortunately.
Neither do I. I have an Adam West Batman shirt, so.
Pew, did you build a fortress for your cat?
I did not. It's just a Doctor Who blanket to cover all the crap on my chair, and then my cats decided to take it over.
Ah. Fair enough.
So, yeah, this film. Initial thoughts. What did you guys think of it?
I liked it.
I like
It's alright.
That sounds about right.
I kind of hated the theater I saw it in, but that's like no, it's not because of the movie.
Which theater did you go to?
I went to the Monroe one, and like the last 5 minutes or something, the guy just dumped like a garbage can right in front of like the movie screen, and kind of just talked through the last 5 minutes, and just while waiting to clean up or whatever. I'm like, dude, you can just come in after the movie's over. Like, come on.
Wow, that's kind of a douche move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoyed this movie. A little underwhelmed, a little disappointed, but hell, I'm gonna buy this movie. It's worth it for Batman alone. Batman was freaking amazing in this movie.
Right.
Ben Affleck, I applaud you, good sir. You are the Bat. Actually, everybody, for the most part, did a good job in this movie. With the one possible exception. And I was afraid of this. I called it when they showed the trailer, but I was like, no, I'm going to give it a chance because maybe they'll evolve the character. No, that's just how he is. And that's Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Oh, I thought Lois's sped up relationship with Superman was both times I felt like it was kind of forced, only because and rushed, I guess, because we didn't get to see it progress. It was just there all of a sudden. And what the fuck was him getting in the bathtub with her? Like, that was fucking weird.
Dude's in love.
I
Yeah,
know,
that's
but
him-
in his
that's him
clothes and
playing
stuff,
around.
and
Yeah,
I know.
he's playing around. Couples tend to do that.
I
Yeah,
don't
he
know.
was in love and he was trying to make Lois feel better.
I guess, but I don't know. I don't know.
I can
I'm lonely,
understand.
I have cats. I don't know how couples interact.
Obviously.
What is this affection for men you talk about? Pew has not heard of this.
Well, not positive
was-
affection. All I know is freaking tiny dicks and whines and pussies and
But no, I could understand you wanting to see more of the relationship because it
Yeah.
did kind of time skip a little bit, saying, okay, Superman's been around for a little while now, enough for this to build for people to say, hey, he's blowing shit up. What the hell?
They explicitly said it's been 2 years since Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I know. We still didn't see it though, because it's boom,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since Man of Steel, and at the end of Man of Steel, we saw him with the looks and stuff. So I was like, okay, and it makes sense that they progressed it 2 years instead of just waiting and saying, nah, fuck it, they've been in the same spot for 2 years.
Yeah. And it did stand to reason in 2 years, given how their relationship was at the end of Man of Steel, that yeah, okay, it's gotten to this point now. They're completely madly in love.
Yep.
But oh my God, Eisenberg as Luthor, just no.
I never thought as Lex Luthor as like a unstable, like crazy person, but he's like
No,
almost like I'm gonna say like functioning Joker-esque kind of crazy.
yes, he is a lunatic. They made him a stark, raving lunatic, and that
Like I don't think he'd ever
completely.
actually get like where he was in this
No.
position, or anyone would actually get in this position legitimately
It's
if they were like that.
When he
it's
inherited the
because
position, it was his father's company.
I know, but I think
it's
like
also
someone like the board
because
would
of
vote against you or something at that point if you were like that, because they don't want you representing their company.
it's also because of technically what they've done with Lex.
Yeah, which is fine, making him Alexander Luthor, the son of Lex Luthor.
No, I don't mean that because they flat out said, including the director, it's meant to be Lex.
Okay, then they completely failed. But what did you mean by what they did with him?
They didn't completely fail because I put it to you. Do you like the '70s Superman film?
The Christopher Reeves one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lex in that is a complete joker, which he wasn't in the comics.
Yeah, and I don't like Lex in that movie either.
But I was saying, let me finish. Every single time on the films, Lex has been something he's not. This one, they combined mad scientist Lex, business Lex, the one who's obsessed with about Superman being a god, and they combined him with jokey Lex from the previous films, all into one to make a hybrid Lex, which it's going to be something completely unique. I may not have liked it 100%, but I didn't flat out hate it either because I could see why they did it. And his motivations were so fucking clear from the get go. And it was the motivations that make Business Lex who he is that I can see why, and it's kind of cool.
I didn't hate it. It felt really awkward. Like I don't know, why would you still allow this guy to represent your company? I mean, sure, keep him in the R&D section or at least some business stuff, but I wouldn't let him be the face. But
But it's his company.
I know. I'm just saying, like, obviously there's
Yeah, but you're
obviously
saying
other board members.
you're saying why would you let him represent? It's his company.
I
He's
know,
going
but
to
like a lot of
represent.
times, like there's usually at least a board of representatives and stuff, and
Not all the time though, and this one seems to be just him because
yeah.
he's because of how obscenely rich he is. It's basically just him. There is no board, so yeah, we're going to represent
Well,
what
there
he
you go
wants to.
then that's fine.
Yeah, and another interesting thing that they tried to make it also just by making it a little different by saying that it's Alexander Luthor Jr. My dad was the Lex and LexCorp. So that makes me wonder. And they mentioned he died, but it makes me wonder if they put that in there so if they wanted to at some point they could say, oh, older Lex is still alive and have a different kind of Lex if they wanted to have another one.
I don't think they will because I honestly believe this Lex is going to become our Lex.
Okay.
He's
His
going to
head
I
shaved.
honestly believe he's going to become the Lex we want him to. Because at the end of the film, he's shaved, he's in prison, he's shaken up a little bit by Batman and by what's coming, and I'm guessing prison's going to toughen him up.
Ding dong.
Probably.
Ding dong, Batman. Ding dong.
Yeah, I don't know. I did not like this Lex at all. I thought he was way too lunatic, not enough businessman, and yeah, like
He worked.
they did give him a good motivation against Superman. They did play the whole, fuck Superman and fuck the gods kind of thing, and I hate Superman. Fair enough, they did that well, but just that portrayal of Lex, and I know this portrayal of Lex pissed off a whole slew of people, but from the get go, I didn't like this portrayal of Lex from the trailers, and then when I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, they're actually this is actually Lex. They're taking that and just make that whole thing is Lex. He's stark raving lunatic. I'm like, oh, I don't like this.
To be fair, this whole film pissed off a whole slew of people.
Pretty much.
Because this film wasn't made for the everyday audience. It's made for the comic fans. That's why I fucking love it. It's awesome because most of the stuff is filled with Easter eggs to comics, or it's filled with scenes that are ripped directly from it and stuff like that, to the point that it's basically, if you're a fan of the comics, it's fucking brilliant. If you're not, you're going to be underwhelmed, or you're going to be disappointed, or you're going to be like, oh, it's not for me, which makes sense because that's sort of what they were going for. It's, I don't know what you'd call it, but unapologetically just for the fans, and I
Yeah,
like that. The CGI Resident Evil films, that's a good thing.
yeah, which is fine, which is fine, and that's all well and good. But that's just my opinion. I don't like Lex. Everything else I love. They did a great job with
I
everything
didn't
else.
say that. I didn't say that about Lex. I said that about the film in general. 'Cause I just mentioned when you said there's a whole slew of people who hate him. I'm like, yeah, but they hate everything about this film.
There is a good amount of people like that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But well, let's talk about Gal Gadot, or is it Gadot? I don't know. I've heard it pronounced both
Yeah,
ways.
not
As Wonder Woman.
not muscly enough, but for
Oh.
what they went with for the film, she worked.
Are you pointing
Yes,
up?
Jim.
I just want to say because I was trying to say something, and you guys try to move on.
Mhm.
I thought this Lex was a good character. He didn't feel like Lex, but at the same time, despite that, he was a good character.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the character they gave him. He just wasn't Lex, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
I
he could
can-
become Lex.
and yeah, he can become Lex. He's a hybrid of various Lexes, and I will point out he is the most evil Lex we have ever seen on a screen.
He's pretty
This
evil.
is true.
Because I point to you. When was the last time that you ever saw a Lex that had Superman on his knees and was just gleefully looking at him throwing down photos, or blew up an entire room of people just to prove his point?
And his assistant.
Yeah, he killed Mercy. What the fuck?
Yep.
Other,
And like I said,
other Lex created a man made out of a nuclear bomb in the sun.
Yeah, and did nothing with him. This one created a monster which got nuked from the sky and actually killed someone. Boom, this one's better.
Mm.
But yeah, that was, like I said, he was just really evil, which I can admit, that's something that I didn't like the character 100%, but I liked what they did with him, and it was cool. Like I said, most evil we've ever seen him.
Yeah.
Certainly.
This is true. And I will admit, throughout the movie when I was watching it, there were flashes of, ooh, I like that. Or, ooh, yeah, that's totally Lex right there. That's a Lex move right there.
Yeah.
So there was flashes of it. I was just like, give us more of that, because that is Lex Luthor, not trying to implant the Joker into Lex Luthor.
Yeah, and I also have to ask to a lot of the people. I don't think anyone. I'm not saying anyone here before people go all defensive and crap. But how stupid are people?
Very. Never
Very.
underestimate
One
the
of the
stupidness of people.
Hang on, Pew, because I said one of the biggest complaints I've heard about this Lex, which is one of the reasons, as Marcus put it, a whole slew of people hate him, is his motivations aren't clear. And I'm like, from the very first time he's on screen, he mentions the fact the person who has the intelligence, should be the one who has the power. And multiple times he mentions about how Superman has this power, but he's a demon, he doesn't trust him. And he mentions about the intelligence multiple times. He makes this. He couldn't make it any more fucking clearer unless he wore a fucking T-shirt that says, "Hi, here's my plans."
Yeah.
It just annoyed me that was one of the biggest complaints. I'm like, what the fuck? No, it's pretty fucking clear.
For the record, I'd buy that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they went with a very simple motivation. He doesn't like Superman. It's effectively the same motivation he has in the comics. He doesn't like Superman. He wants Superman dead. Do you need more than that?
He also has the same thing Batman has.
Yeah, the whole God thing. Yeah.
You
No,
think
I
Superman has the
don't- I don't
potential
mean
threat to
that.
subjugate the world?
I don't mean that. I mean he has the same thing Batman has, which Alfred mentions, and it draws upon for this Batman, of the fact, essentially speaking, Lex feels powerless because of Superman. Lex wants that power because of his intelligence. He believes he deserves this power, and this guy's more powerful than him, which, as Alfred puts it, that feeling of powerless makes people cruel.
Like, just imagine, like, just one country has an expanded military that you now know is greater than yours. Obviously, the next country next to it's going to want to have a similar military because they said, oh, what if they decide to bomb us for some reason? We should have the equal kind of, like, something similar to that.
True.
Indeed.
Yep.
Okay, so Wonder Woman, back.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I thought Gal Gadot did a great job.
I checked. It actually is Gadot. I've been saying it wrong the whole time too.
So
Okay,
I think
so
Gal Gadot did a great job. I thought she looked like Wonder Woman. She acted like Wonder Woman. she carried herself like Wonder Woman, and the action scenes were really, really good. I can sort of agree with the build. I think her build works, but I could totally see, people wanting a more robust looking Wonder Woman.
See, I think she acted okay when she was in her civilian ones. Her outfit's okay, but she doesn't look like Wonder Woman. She doesn't carry herself like Wonder Woman. She looks almost like a cosplayer. She looks almost like a cosplayer in that. Cool. She doesn't scream Amazonian warrior. She screams supermodel playing cosplay.
Yeah, and I got a kind of Catwoman-y sense from her, like early in the beginning.
She basically had the same role as Catwoman from Dark Knight Rises, and she was almost based on how thin she was for Wonder Woman, and how they made her look and stuff. I was expecting her to suddenly stand there and start shooting T-shirts out of a gun. She looked like that type of supermodel you'd see at a football game, dressed as Wonder Woman with, hey, check out our new movie, dum 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 dum, shooting the bazooka. It's like, oh, I want Wonder Woman, goddammit.
Wonder Woman.
Fair enough. I loved her. The only problem I had with Gal Gadot, and it's a relatively minor thing, but it is one that really took me by surprise. It kind of took me out of it until I started kind of getting used to it, and that was her accent, because I wasn't expecting her to have one. And it didn't dawn on me, because, I read up about her background and stuff, I was like, okay, she could be cool for Wonder Woman, because, she's got that Israeli military background. The thought never crossed my mind that she might actually be, like, born and raised Israeli, so that she'd have that accent. And then when she opened her mouth, I was like, oh, huh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
I thought the accent was...
What Wonder Woman's supposed to have.
Is she supposed to have an accent?
Yeah, because she's essentially from a Greek island.
Pretty much. So it might not be the exact right accent, but it's close enough that it works for the character.
Okay,
right,
she didn't convey Greek to me.
No, I'm not saying she was Greek, Pierre. I'm just saying she's meant in the comic she's from a Greek island. This one she's just from a mystical island. The fact she has an accent that's not just, hi, I'm a typical American.
No, that's totally fine.
Like I just was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was just I wasn't expecting it, because I wasn't expecting it. It was really jarring to me.
Which is fair enough, but it does work for the character. It adds a what's what I'm looking for here? It adds a mystique, a mysteriousness to the character almost.
Yeah.
True.
Yep. But yeah, like I said, I wish they'd gone somewhere else with her, but she might be able to grow into Wonder Woman as the series goes on, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And it just
seems it's not like she was terrible, but she just doesn't look the part at all. Like, even when she was fighting, I was very aware that it was CGI assisting her.
And also,
I never thought it was her being a warrior, if that makes sense.
With the way she kind of just because she's got super strength and stuff, how she just threw herself at stuff despite her tiny size, it kind of looked unnatural.
And not in a good way. It looked like you said. Yeah, it looked like
kind of go forward, and you don't expect her to have that movement and thrust crazy at you, because she looks like she looked like she's fragile. She looks like she could break.
Yeah,
so you don't expect that.
Also, yeah, she looks like she could break because she looks like a supermodel, and a lot of times her CGI consists of her like this, and then all the environment moves around her.
That's true.
Terrible.
Now, honestly, I liked her as Wonder Woman. I thought she looked really cool. In particular, I like to see where it's almost a fake out, because everybody saw that scene in the trailer where she's got the shield out, and so when Superman's stuck up half nuked in space and Doomsday's fighting Batman and kicking his ass and he throws him into a wall and he's about to face blast him, and you're like, oh shoot, and when you saw Wonder Woman sliding from the side very quickly, and you're like, oh, this is the shield scene, and then it breaks, it's like, no, she blocked with the gauntlets. I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, the bracelets, yeah. They did all her little things well. I feel maybe they tried to showcase too many of her things, but they did them well. The bracelets, the shield, and the sword.
She used the lasso.
And the lasso. Oh, and I love the fact, and I didn't know what they were going to do with this, I love the fact, they don't say it, but if you're a comic fan, you know this, the sword that she wields is a sword that Hephaestus made for her that could carve an electron off an atom. And I know that because she cut Doomsday's arm off. and that sword can harm Superman because it's magical. I was like, oh my god, it's the Hephaestus blade. That's amazing.
Yeah, but Superman would have been hurt by that anyway because he had just spent 3 minutes exposed to a large chunk of kryptonite.
Yep.
No, I'm just saying in general it would hurt.
Yeah.
It does raise it, which that's another thing.
And I like the lettering on her shield. That was cool.
Yeah, which that was another thing which was a little weird for Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
She cut Doomsday's arm off, then her response is to grab him in a lasso and hold him there. You have something that can cut him and slice his limbs off. If you're Wonder Woman and an actual warrior like she claimed to be instead of just a suit model playing cosplay, she would have chopped his head off.
But she couldn't remember because she chopped his arm off, and then the next time Doomsday attacked her, he took the sword. The sword was embedded in Doomsday's hand, and that's why he was able to stab Superman with. That's why she switched to the lasso, because she didn't have the sword.
I was saying that's what she would have gone for first, would have been the head.
If she could get to the head.
That wasn't the sword that Doomsday...
The head was near her at one point, and she doesn't cut the head off. She waits, and then eventually she cuts the arm off, and I'm like, what? No.
Although I think the arm grew back, didn't it?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That wasn't the sword that he impaled Superman with. It was they were doing the whole Doomsday from the comics, how he has bone protrusions and can grow bone and stuff, kind of like Wolverine. They were doing that, so when his arm got chopped off, he did the Wolverine thing and basically pulled out a bone spike and impaled Superman with that.
No. I think it was Wonder Woman's sword in his mom, because his sword was embedded in her sword was embedded in Doomsday's hand. His might have grown over it, but the sword was in his hand. The sword was never removed from Doomsday's hand, and that's the hand that he impaled Superman with.
No, he never didn't have a hand. She cut it cleanly off, and then it began to glow, and then the bones came out of his hand.
Yeah, she cut it off, it glue, and then you saw a spike come out of it.
And that's what he impaled, because he backhanded Wonder Woman and knocked the sword out of her hand after she cut his hand off. He was like, no, not having that. Boom. That's why she had to resort to the lasso, because everything else got knocked away from her.
Yeah, and that, whatever.
Yeah, the thing is, like, she could have totally just went, like, freaking, like, here's Johnny, and just stabbed him crazy and fucking slit his throat and did all that shit. You know?
Yep, but like I said, this one's not Warrior Wonder Woman. Sadly.
But she didn't have the sword. She didn't realize what he could do until she did. She was like, oh, wait, that could cut the hand off, and then he was like, boom. And all she had was the lasso. That's why she bound him.
Yeah, but I was about like we said, that she should have been fighting like a warrior really fucking early on instead of just leaping like that, and then going She seemed to not fight like a warrior. She seemed to have as much skill fighting as Superman, and he's not a skilled fighter at this point.
She just was very on the defensive and not more concerned with, like, I guess, protecting Batman and just kind of crowd control more than anything else, which was odd because there's no one around. I meant she wasn't as aggressive as she should have been. That's what I'm saying. She was more like on the defensive and crowd control, even though there was actually no one there to protect. So
she wasn't sure that she could beat this thing, and it's like this is meant to be the one that beat
she wasn't on the offensive.
Ares and stuff like that from her time.
She wasn't on the offensive. She could have been like, when I'd say guns blazing, but obviously she doesn't have guns, but you know what I mean.
Well, the thing is,
in the very beginning.
The thing we have to remember about this Wonder Woman, though, is we don't know who she's beat or what her backstory is because we haven't seen anything yet.
And she said she beat other aliens.
But we know that her film is set in World War I. We know Ares is supposed to be featured in it, maybe as the main villain, and we know she said the line of she's beaten people like him before.
At least aliens.
Yeah.
Yes, but we also know that fair enough. Those pictures are from 1918, but ever since then, she's obviously gone completely underground and hasn't fought anyone or anything, and there's got to be a reason for that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean she can't. Like I said, she's meant to be Wonder Woman. It's still that.
Yeah, but if she would, yes, but it's not about her. It's not about her skills and abilities. If Wonder Woman went underground like that and wasn't fighting, it might not be necessarily a crisis of abilities or skills. It might be a crisis of confidence in those abilities. If maybe she killed Ares, but something.
She was pretty cocky. She does not have a confidence problem.
Yeah. Well, if I had to guess, like we seem to be doing, if I was guessing, I would just guess she probably had a crisis of man's world because her love interest, played by Captain Kirk, was probably killed. Therefore, she would have gone back to Themyscira, so she should be more trained.
I don't know. It seems like she just went. It seems like she just went completely underground because that photo's still floating around. All of a sudden, she's here. It seems like she just went underground for whatever reason. Fair enough, disillusioned with man's world and all, but it's still a matter of.
Yeah, but
But
if she went disappearing, she would have gone back to her island. That's why no one could photograph her, because it's a magic island where you're not supposed to be able to get cameras there. She should be way more trained than she is.
Or at least like be on the offensive, you know, instead of, like I said, defending people who are not there.
Yep.
whatever.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So, before we get to the big guy, what do we think of them killing off Jimmy Olsen?
Wait, did he
I'm
die?
okay with that.
Who do you think was with Lois?
Yeah, Pew. When they were in the desert scene, and they found the tracker in Lois's bag, and there's that other guy, and he's like, sorry, Lois, we use your credentials to get in, and they shoot that dude in the head. That was Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, I didn't even know that was Jimmy Olsen.
I didn't know that until after the fact either.
Yeah, I'm okay with them killing off Jimmy because they had no plans for him, and I don't think he'd fit into this universe well without dramatically changing the character.
Mm.
So it worked.
Fine.
Plus, as I mentioned to Marcus the other day, apparently Jesse Eisenberg was supposed to be Jimmy.
By default, automatically a better Jimmy Olsen than a certain other show.
Yeah, he was. But like I said, apparently Jesse Eisenberg was supposed to play Jimmy. Then when Snyder saw his betrayal and then saw him do another thing and it was all psychotic and stuff, he's like, no, you're playing Lex, and then cast someone else as Jimmy.
Mm.
They mentioned that in the recent interview. I thought, oh, that's kind of a cool little fact.
Interesting.
Indeed. So, let's talk about the Batman, which I loved. I loved what they did with the Batman, and I love that they decided to go with a different take on him. That there you go. That they decided to, well, make him kill, because it makes sense for this Batman if you think about this Batman's backstory.
And also, as people pointed out as well, to be fair, what version of Batman hasn't killed? This one's just not going around talking about, oh, I don't kill, then killing everyone.
You're safe besides all the broken bones in your body and everything else.
Yeah, I don't kill except for all those times I kill. This one just doesn't do that, which, while people may notice him killing more, he hasn't killed more than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like people like even Snyder mentioned, I think, at one point. There was literally a video up where in the course of the last Batman films, 40 odd people were killed by Batman.
Mm-hmm.
This one didn't kill 40 odd people.
Yeah, I think one thing a lot of people don't notice. Oh, God damn it! Is that actually?
I was. I don't know. It's
I'll
pretty
go.
close because you got to figure he killed a whole bunch of people down at the docks when he stole the kryptonite. He killed at least 2 dozen. He killed at least 2 dozen hostiles breaking Martha Kent out of the warehouse. I would say it was probably close to 40 if it wasn't 40.
I don't think he actually killed a lot of
No,
people in the warehouse
it wouldn't
because that
be
was
close
actually.
Yeah, it wouldn't be close to 40. And yeah, he killed one person definitely in the takeover. The rest of the people, he didn't kill them.
Like, they had definitely broken bones and shit. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
broken bones, he injured them, but he didn't kill them.
there wasn't, like, that many kills. There was just, oh, this person's gonna need a lot of fucking physical therapy, possibly forever.
Yeah, the only one I'd say he definitely killed was the guy he shot the tank on. That dude died.
And at the warehouse where he stabbed a dude in the heart with a knife.
He didn't stab a guy in the heart.
Yes, he did, because he whipped this guy around, threw him into the wall, then another guy came out with a knife, he blocked it, took the knife, went, either stabbed him in the heart or in the shoulder, but it was somewhere in
It
this
was in the
general area.
shoulder.
It was in the shoulder because the guy he stabbed, if you notice, stabbed him in the shoulder. Batman goes, pulls the knife out, then goes out of his way to pin that guy to the wall and go, right in the same spot he was stabbed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this Batman's a little bit more petty, but that's okay. I'm okay with him doing that.
Makes sense with his psyche that he'd do that.
Yeah, it makes sense that you would do that. Hell, if someone stabbed me in the arm and I have the knife in my hand in a fight, I'm going to stab them in the arm.
Yeah, what I was saying is one thing that not a lot of people noticed. I've been realizing. I'm pretty sure Mole noticed it. I don't know if the other two of you noticed it. But Batman says one line. I can't remember who he's talking to, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot." He says, yeah, in Gotham City, we used to have a problem with lunatics dressing up as clowns or something like that." And I was like,
he's talking to Clark Kent at the fancy Lex Luthor party, and he said, and he's talking, and they'll go back and forth about, oh, what do you think of the Batman vigilante? Well, what do you think about writing puff pieces about Superman all the time? And he's like, maybe it's just the Gotham in me, but we have a thing about guys go around dressed as clowns.
yeah, but the way he worded it, he said something along the lines like, "We used to have problems with guys dressed as clowns," and I'm like, "Oh."
No. He said we have a thing about people dressed as clowns. There was no past tense involved.
Was it? I thought he used a past tense.
I don't know.
Like,
Mole
did he kill Joker?
I think the past tense he used was we're used to, so it could be like used to in the past, but I think it's used to like when you get used to something.
Yeah, I think it was technically past tense, but it was more like get used to.
The word was meant to mean accustomed.
Yeah, like
Fair
yeah. It
Fair
wasn't like
enough.
there is no more Joker.
Yeah.
Well,
Although
he could have killed Joker in this one. There's no reason not to say.
that goes into my theory that if the theories about the Joker and Suicide Squad not being the original are true, regardless of who it actually is, I could see it being something like, okay, one of the Robins got killed, and in revenge, Batman killed the Joker, and that's why he kind of went into the psyche we see him in this movie.
Isn't Suicide Squad a prequel?
It is? Did they say that?
I believe Suicide Squad's supposed to be a prequel.
I don't recall that being said. Fair enough.
Yeah, because one of the theories that someone came up with, and I'm like, that would explain a few things. On Robin's suit in the Batcave where it says, "Ha, the joke's on you," it could be referring to, I can't remember which one of the two, it's either the Killing Joke or the other one where Batman kills the Joker. At the end, the Joker's like, "Well, Bats, looks like I get the last laugh, because you finally did it. You killed me. Now you're going to be driven over the edge," kind of thing. That kind of
like
thing.
a whole like Jason
Yeah,
Todd
but
thing.
the thing with that's not. I've heard that theory. It's completely bullshit.
Okay, where's your proof?
My proof is that version of Batman was secluded and was isolated and didn't care about humanity. My proof is the moment he saved that little girl, the moment he tried to carry that stuff off the guy's legs. This Batman cares about people. He's not been driven over the edge. That Batman is supposed to be isolated and hateful and just completely insane. This one's not. He's clearly sane. He cares about people. Plus, the wording on the suit is "Joke's on you, Batman," which is just a catchphrase of Joker.
It is, but it could also explain other things, because you say he hasn't been driven over the edge. He's obviously driven far enough over the edge that he callously murders people.
But like I said, the other one murders people. Every version of Batman murders people. Name me what, besides animated, because they don't kill on cartoons, tell me a version of Batman that doesn't kill.
Adam West.
Except in the one that he's based on from the comics is killed.
Oh, okay.
And he kills you.
The old blue and grey one even had a gun and went around shooting people. Every version kills.
Adam West kills you on the inside with his jokes.
But they haven't gone around callously murdering large groups of people.
He hasn't murdered people, as people like to keep putting it. Every kill that Batman does in this thing is in self-defense.
It's not like
he
goes
callously murdering. It's like he's going around doing it gleefully evil. Like a lot of times as well, he'll break the person's arm, like we saw him do, or break their bone, so they stay down. He runs to rescue girls. That's my proof. You can't say prove it, and then when I say to you, well, that version was isolated if you'd read the comic and didn't go out of his way to help people and had no humanity. This one's full of humanity. That's like what makes this Bruce Wayne awesome.
Which is true, but that's still not any proof that he didn't kill the Joker. They could be using aspects of that and saying that's why this Batman is so dark, but they're not taking it to the level of he's now going to isolate himself, he's now going to become an insane lunatic. It's more, he's become so jaded with humanity that he does it in his own way. He still cares,
he's not jaded.
But he is very jaded. This Bruce Wayne is very jaded, and that's what I love about this Bruce Wayne.
He's not jaded.
He's not. He was saving like girls. He was talking to people. He was not like really
Hey, you're
Wonder Woman. He's engaged. in
Here's a dirty
humanity.
Marcus. Batman is jaded, and not with humanity. He's jaded with Superman.
Yeah, he's jaded with Superman, but the world is. Batman doesn't know Superman yet, and like Batman says to Alfred, based on how he's grown up in Gotham and all the stuff that happens, if there's 1% chance Superman's not who he says he is, they have to take as an absolute just because he has the ability to wipe out a city with his vision. This is a Batman that's just seeing that stuff. He's not jaded, he's just cautious. There's a difference.
He's super cautious and planning the worst because he cares so much.
That's why the second this Batman finds out that Superman's like him and has a mother and stuff like that, he realizes, okay, maybe I was wrong about him. The second he does, he goes out of his way to try and help him.
Yes, but that's Superman showing him that, hey, maybe it's worth it for you to do the right thing, as opposed to being, because Bruce outright says to Clark that, your father taught you this, but my father, I learned this from my father, from him dying and stuff, and from that he became very jaded, based on what I can't remember his exact wording, but he said something along the lines of, like, basically his father taught him, like, kind of like, it's like what Martha was saying to Clark of, you don't owe the world the world doesn't owe you anything, and so therefore you don't owe the world anything, and Bruce feels the same way, because he's like, the world took my parents and stuff from me, what the hell do I owe them? And he outright says that to Superman about, your father instilled these types of values in you, but because of my father's death, I learned this. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, okay, that works.
He kind of feels like he does.
His wording was, but my parents taught me, and then he mentioned about dying in the gutter, so he had to fight for everything he had. It wasn't about being jaded. It was about how Batman doesn't live with the hope, but that doesn't make him jaded.
Also, I'd say that he does actually feel guilty about his parents and stuff. And he does feel like he owes the world something because he feels responsible for his parents' death. So he kind of wants to protect the city, make sure nobody else feels the same pain.
It's like basically the reason Lex was able to manipulate him as well as he did. Like Lex said, I was surprised he gave in so fast, but who knew he cared that much? And he mentions about, all I had to do was send him a couple of bit of notes with, you let your family die. This one's not jaded. He cares a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
It's just people see him kill on this one and not give a speech about not killing before he does it. People are like, oh, he must be a heartless murderer. It's like, he's not.
Well, you also have to add in the fact that there's got to be something going on when your idea of justice is, I'm going to fucking brand people with a bat iron.
Yeah, that shocked me. I'm like, whoa.
To be fair, the branding with a bat iron was something new at the time of this film, and Alfred explains it by mentioning that Batman with like we mentioned earlier, Batman's feeling powerless by Superman, and it's making him act a little cruel at the time. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean, but that's not something he was doing the whole time. They even mentioned with the first one we see him do, that was the first brand. They mention it.
Yeah, and he said new rules, as in, like, he hadn't done it before.
Yeah. It was because of his, like, with Batman in the comics as well. Batman in the comics does sometimes overreact whenever he feels powerless. That's what this one does. He felt powerless by having these Supermen in his world.
The other thing about that, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and they made a point, you would know better than I, Mo. Was there at one point there was some kind of like a like a League of Batmen, like dudes who were trying to be Batman, and they were branding people in the comics?
There has been, yes.
Yeah. So maybe they got that from that as well.
Yeah. But, which, like I said, it was meant to be something new, but they were drawing upon the fact Batman would feel powerless from Superman. It makes sense. So he acts out in the only way he can by he's branding his criminals. Mm.
So I liked Alfred in here too. He was pretty freaking awesome.
Was awesome.
He was good. He was good.
I loved Alfred, head of security.
Mm. And that is his title, by the way. He's not a butler.
Yes, that's why I mentioned it. But yes,
I know, but they don't know that. That's why I'm for their.
I know Marcus does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was cool that they actually showed him like working all this shit and stuff instead of just like being a butler and stuff. Like he's like, oh God,
I
you're making more work for me and this stuff, and
Yeah, and I love how they got the relationship right between the two of them as well. Like I mentioned, like this Batman obviously cares a hell of a lot with, like, just the look in his face when he saves that girl at the beginning is fucking awesome. But when he's with Alfred, you see him bicker and do a bit of banter, and Alfred is so fucking snarky.
And even when I like when he talks to himself, like, oh, maybe you'll meet a girl that's in my dreams that you'll never have. And, like, he just kind of in his best fantasy, he's not even thinking of himself. He's just thinking of Bruce being happy.
Yep. Although I did mention to, I think it was Simon, I had thought of one possibility for this, and I think I mentioned it to Marcus as well. One possibility for this based on a line in this film, but I'm not going to go out my way and say it's a definite thing.
Okay.
The Robin that died is Damien.
Hmm.
Because of the line from Alfred when he mentions about the next generation of Waynes, then quickly apologizes and says, I'm sorry, I know there's not going to be any more generation of Waynes. You could take that as maybe he was like, oh shit, what the hell have I done? I just put my foot in my mouth because it was Damian Wayne, his son.
Maybe.
Could have just been a joke. I'm not going to say, oh my god, yes, I'm fight for it. That's fucking stupid. It
could have been that, or it could have been like, haha, you'll never have like a family or settle down because of your lifestyle. But
I think it was more a quip from Alfred about the fact that it's it's related to it seemed like the earlier quip about the girl from Metropolis earlier, like Bruce is never going to get married and settle down and have a normal life, and he knows that, and it is like well, you have to leave something for the next generation of Waynes, not to be a next generation.
Yeah.
Either or, both could work. Huh?
Yeah, that's why I even mentioned I thought it could be a joke.
Yeah, it could be either way.
That could be a possibility.
That is a possibility. I didn't think about that.
Interesting.
Absolutely. But yeah, I absolutely love the Batman in this one. I'm going to go on record and say I think Ben Affleck is the best live-action Batman we've ever had.
I'd say he's the best Batman, period.
He's a good Batman.
He's a very good Batman. I look forward to seeing a full movie with him. Hopefully the standalone Batman movie gets made, and
Yep.
We shall see.
Yeah, and like you said, Alfred was pretty, or like Hugh said, Alfred was pretty cool as well. I do love Alfred.
Indeed,
yes.
Indeed.
And just for completion's sake, I'm just gonna run through the Justice League.
I was gonna get to that. We're getting to that. I have some choice things about that. But yeah, I was just running through like the big main characters first.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to the Justice League. But Doomsday, thoughts?
Initially I thought he was like a clay version of the Thing, but then he got his spikes because I'm used to seeing him as a spike, so I kind of didn't recognize him. But I'm like, oh, he grows his spikes, and it shows how he keeps growing and was awesome. And then like that.
And I have to say, how? How can we talk about the big people and then instantly just go Batman, Doomsday?
I know, it's
why are we forgetting Superman here?
We're getting to him.
Massive changes.
We're getting to him. Oh my god, I have a lot to say about him too.
Yeah, but I mean, surely he would get top billing over Doomsday, who appeared in the last 10 minutes of the film. True.
Nope.
You said, no, we're not going to talk about the cameos from people who don't appear for most of it. Let's go Doomsday.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Superman.
Yes, but I'm doing it to make a point, Mo, and you'll understand when I get to it. Why Superman's going to be the last large character we talk about.
But, yeah,
Doomsday's not a large character.
I like Doomsday. They did a good job of him in this, and I say I like Doomsday because, let's face it, like I mentioned in the past in the comics, he's a plot device character. That's what he is here. But he's at least interesting to see. So yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, and they made him seem like a huge legitimate threat when they made the point that even when they nuked him, it didn't stop him. And they did that scene where the general's on the press, and they're like, it had no effect. What are you telling? What are you telling me, General? I'm telling you, it's invulnerable, sir. We can't kill it.
Now, I will say his origin. I know some people have a problem with his origin. I didn't hate his origin. made from the DNA of Zod with Lex's
God.
DNA mixed into it, only because in the past he's been made from Kryptonians for the sole purpose of fighting Kryptonians. So it's like, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with what they did. Yeah, they could have slowed it down a little bit more and stretched it out a little bit, but we don't know what's in the extended edition. We don't know what got cut for the age rating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with Doomsday. I'm more okay with him than I thought I would be. I still kind of don't like the design, but I'm okay with it. And I'm strangely okay with the origin story. Though I couldn't help but think when I was seeing the origin story, I'm like, this would have made a much better origin story for Bizarro.
Nope, that would have only worked if he was using Superman's DNA, not Zod's.
Yep.
Because Bizarro needs to look like Superman. There's no reason Zod plus Lex makes Superman.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
That makes no sense.
It makes a reverse Zod, who just wants to garden all the time and give tea parties. I don't know.
Okay then.
I don't know. Someone
Fair
who's
enough.
nice and does not want to destroy but create. So that's why I went gardening.
Yep.
I don't know. I also thought the whole nuking the area every time he does a digi-evolution was kind of weird.
Well, no, the only nuke was when they were far enough above the ground, and Superman pulled up almost into
No,
space.
I'm talking about when Doomsday
Oh, you mean his
explodes
thing he
when he
does,
fucking
yeah.
Yeah, you
digivolves,
mean- Yeah, his thing, which isn't actually a nuke per se.
No,
it's
it's-
releasing
It's
energy.
just a release of the pent-up energy.
I was like,
Well,
huh.
Yeah, but it's more like, based on him, he's also doesn't really know his power. As he's evolving, he's more giving off excess power, like, I'm rage, so it kind of works.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True. I don't know.
He was your Doomsday.
Oh, I hated that line so much. That made me cringe.
I
didn't
loved
know,
that.
Oh.
I
didn't
loved
know
that
Doomsday
line
was
because
Vision.
I loved that line because he shouldn't be named Doomsday by Lex because that would be way too obvious. So having the line of "this'll be your Doomsday" type line, I'm like, okay, that works. It gives him the Doomsday line without actually having to call him Doomsday. It's perfect for what we need. Because I'd be pissed if the word Doomsday was never said.
True.
But I never knew he had heat vision. That took me through. I mean, then I haven't seen him in the comics or anything, so that could have always been a thing. But I just
No,
didn't
it's
expect
not. He's Zod. Zod has heat vision.
it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because Zod had it. But I just didn't know.
That can't be heat vision. It's red. Heat vision's blue.
Ha!
Not according to Superman.
No, I was making a different
He's
reference.
Supergirl.
That was an unrelated joke.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, true. Good point.
You don't get the joke. Stop pretending you get the joke.
No, I think he gets it now. That's fine.
But yeah. So like I said, I'm okay with Doomsday. A few things that I thought were kind of weird, but on the whole, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Now the big question I posed to you guys, which I've seen a lot of people of saying that this was their
I
biggest
know what
complaint.
you're going to ask. You're going to ask, do these equal Superman red and blue of sheep?
Well, do they?
Boom! Topical joke.
But no, the big question I want to pose to you guys that I've seen a lot of people say was probably one of their biggest concerns with Doomsday is, do you guys feel DC blew their load too soon?
No.
With the whole
No.
bringing in Doomsday
No, I've
killing off
heard
Superman
that,
now.
that with, we're doing the death of Superman now, and it's like, so, the death of Superman wasn't the best ever DC story. In fact, it was a pretty shit story because DC was pretty desperate. I mean, one of the pages of it is literally just those two fighting. It's a boring story. It's bland as fuck. It just happened to be something to grab the audience to get DC money, to get attention back onto its properties. They want attention onto their film properties. This worked. But
Superman's got to come back. Or
now,
whatever.
now, what they've set up brilliantly is anyone can die. Which means when Darkseid shows up, anyone can die.
Yes, but you have to realize, if they're going to form the Justice League to fight Darkseid at the time and Superman comes back, where's the threat of, what if Superman dies? Well, it doesn't matter. He'll just come back again. You've removed any and all potential
But we
tension
don't
of what could
know.
happen to Superman.
But we don't know if he'll come back again. That's the thing. That's like saying, well, can you if you read the comics recently of Convergence? Did you enjoy it? Superman died before it. Does that mean there's no threat there? Does that mean you don't enjoy that comic? Or is your mind capable of saying, yeah? And as a result of this, like we've seen, Superman died. Let's say it takes him this long to come back. Fair enough. Superman dies from Darkseid. There's still a threat there, because if it takes him so long to come back, what's going to happen to everyone else?
True.
Because, like, there's a threat there that they might even kill, as people think they might do. They might kill another hero in the future, and I think they will.
Also,
Maybe.
with the lack of Superman there, it gives them a greater incentive to form a Justice League because they're
Which is
down a
true. And
hero.
I thought that was really clever that they did all that, and that made a lot of sense.
Yes.
I just had,
Move
and I,
your
you know, I
microphone
was,
a little bit away from your mouth.
which is fine. I thought that did make a lot of sense. And I thought that was cool the way they said it was so that Batman and Wonder Woman will put the League together. I thought that was cool. My only concern was just that, again, if you bring Superman back, is it, how does that affect the perception of, attention of his potential, death
Well,
again? But I see.
Right, and that's
No.
what a
Well,
lot of people were saying was that
Yeah.
now that you've killed Superman, if you bring him back, it's like, okay, because everyone knows he's coming back, A, because it's Superman, and B, because at the end of the movie you see the dirt rise up off his coffin, so there's energy down there, he's regenerating. But what the biggest concern was, and why people felt they might have blown their load too soon, just in terms of killing off Superman now, twofold. Number one, did you give the audience enough time to actually care about Superman before offing him? And number two, when he comes back, as Jim pointed out, where's the threat to Superman? There's a threat to everyone else, but if he's up there fighting Darkseid, why would you be afraid of him dying? He's like, well, he's died once before.
Yeah, but here's the thing. With the death part, you've got the fact people die like that in the comics all the time and come back. Now they're setting up so anyone can die, and the rules from comics work. Ooh, what if Hal Jordan dies and the Green Lantern ring goes to someone else? That's in my mind. In my mind, instantly, I'm thinking, oh, what if Barry Allen dies and now we get Wally West?
Mm-hmm.
All of these are possible. They can do anything with that now. And the second thing of, did they really make him care enough? The reason they killed Superman in the first place was no one cared at the time he died. Based on his journey from Man of Steel to the end of this film, they've built him up to be a perfect hero. They've built him up in a way they couldn't normally do, because audiences today don't care about Superman. They find him boring and always favour the Batman. So this works.
Well, then let's talk about Superman.
The only people I could see who would argue it blows its load or they killed him too soon and stuff like that is probably going to be people who are probably Superman fanboys out there, because they'd probably be desperate about the fact, oh, they killed him. But it's like, it served such a big purpose. Ironically, his death in this film served a purpose that makes Superman everything he is in the comics, and made his death mean more in this film than it ever did in the comics.
Also, I think it actually would make you care more about him than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
Because, I honestly had no super affinity for,
like, blind Superman fans who are probably like, no, they killed Superman. Why?
But now he's, awesome, and he was likable, and he fucking, did this shit to himself, to save everybody, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he made a sacrifice. He's proven to the world that he is every bit the hero, that they were wondering, is he the hero or is he a villain? He's proven he is the hero, which is brilliant. And his death has rallied together and helped people form the Justice League. He's become the beacon of hope that Superman always was supposed to be. And in the comics, his death didn't really mean that much. Whereas here, it means everything. It makes him the hero. It motivates the Justice League. It gives the threat, a sense that anyone can now die and all that. It's like Iron Man pretty much died for a split second or two in the Marvel one, and then came back in Avengers when they restarted his heart. Does that mean all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe should be thrown out now?
And just for any of you other people who don't really understand comics, I'll put it in the terms of anime, which you've probably seen, Kamina from Gurren Lagann. That's just for anybody else who's more of on the Japanese audience, and not saying you're Japanese, but Japanese media.
Huh.
Which is fair enough. I felt I didn't quite agree with that. I felt that they did a good job of making him important and everything. I don't know. I don't know if they well established the whole Beacon of Hope thing, because look, they showed the funeral and everything, but I thought it would have been more effective if they had shown, like, some of the people that had been seen. Obviously, he came to like the wheelchair guy and stuff, but some of the people that had been seen doubting Superman, if some of those people had just been seen at the funeral, so they were showing that, okay, the people that didn't like him come around, that way we would know that.
We did. We saw the biggest one. We saw Batman. He's the biggest one. Batman was the biggest doubter of Superman. He was the one who literally built a whole fucking robotic suit to fight him because he doubts him that much. And he stood there, and he wouldn't even let Alfred help him. He stood there, and he's like to Wonder Woman, "No, we need to do this differently. We need to do things like Superman now." He's changed his mind. He sees Superman as a hero. That's the biggest one. That dude with like the alien tattoo on his head, or the one screaming, "No, we hate you," with the little WWE crowd signs. Who gives a shit? They mean nothing to the general audience. Doing it with Batman means everything because he's much bigger.
Yeah, and also, if you ever, like, notice Batman and Superman, it's kind of a thing. Like, the fact that Batman was like, holy shit, we're gonna do Superman's way because he fucking did the impossible. Like,
which I understand, but that's not what I was saying.
Yes, but I was saying the doubters, there's always going to be some...
We all died in the house.
That's not what I mean. Yeah, we showed Batman came around to it because Batman was there. Batman saw everything Superman did, but not everybody in the world necessarily saw that. Not everybody in the world knows what he did, and there's gonna be. I find it very hard to believe that there's not gonna be a large chunk of those doubters that are gonna be like, "Good, Superman's dead. Fuck that guy." I cannot believe there are a lot of people doing that.
Oh no, there probably would be some in the world doing that, but who cares? In Superman comics, not everyone likes him, but in the course of this film, we saw Batman do that. The military was against Superman at one point, and they slowly started to turn around and even gave him a military funeral.
Yeah,
that
and
means
also
that and Batman and stuff means that there are people in the world who are turning around. People are seeing him as the hero he is now. That means everything.
And also, short of Superman doubters, besides the background characters who nobody knew who they were, everyone else who doubted him died in the fucking house.
I said earlier, Pew. I said I know obviously the wheelchair guy and the others died.
Yeah.
It just seemed like they called somebody in there to actually to articulate that besides Batman, because of course Batman's going to. He was there.
But there's no other characters still alive.
It's the other people who doubted him from afar that you would want to make sure.
But you also saw like the paper from the Daily Planet with it and stuff, and you're like, this is kind of huge, and he gets the military signed off and all that stuff. It's like, okay, so the doubters have come round, or at least most of them have, to the point where it's a mournful thing.
Which is fair enough. I just thought they could have more outright showed that.
I thought that would be more handholdy.
Well,
yeah, you can't get more like respected and like than a military funeral and like tens of like bunch of people, like a whole lot of people.
I was saying, that's the other thing is we don't see that many people at the funeral either. That was the other thing.
There's a shit ton of people. Are you kidding me? There's like a whole fucking military of like 50 dudes. There's like crowds and shit.
There's the soldiers carrying him down, but we don't see the crowd. We just the soldiers carrying down the road.
There's a crowd and shit.
With a small crowd of people around it. That's all we see in the movie.
We see the military people. We see Wonder Woman. We see Batman and stuff, obviously. We don't need to see many, and that's probably a good thing. We don't see many.
Wonder Woman and Batman aren't there. Wonder Woman and Batman are in Smallville at Clark's funeral. They're not at the big Superman funeral.
This leads me to one thing that I don't like. Because I noticed this, because at first, when they were doing the funeral, you point out they're in Smallville, Kansas. And I'm like, okay, fair enough, they're giving Clark a funeral. When they pan up to the casket, it has the S on it. I'm like, why are they burying Superman in Smallville? How do they know that's Clark Kent? Especially when the paper is saying Clark Kent presumed dead. That threw me completely off. I was like, wait, what? Why does his casket have the S on it? And he's getting a military send-off. That made absolutely no sense to me. And then they cut to Metropolis where Superman's being buried. I'm like, what?
His coffin didn't have the S.
Yeah, it did.
It was slicing footage between the two scenes.
Yeah,
that coffin with the S was the military one for Superman, not the one for Clark. Clark's was the simple brown wooden coffin. The one with the S was black, and was the military one where they put the flag over.
I thought they both had the S, and they gave the flag to like Martha Kent. I'm like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was at Clark's funeral, not Superman's funeral.
Yeah,
like I understand juxtaposing two simultaneous events together.
Yeah, they did two different things together.
No,
Yeah,
they
like
both
I
happened
said,
at the same time, and they cut back and forth between the two. That's how it works. The movie
And that
trick.
yeah,
goes into something else we'll be talking about in a minute after we finish talking about Superman, of just
Hold
how
on 1 second.
really crap the intercutting was. But anyway,
Hold on 1 second. Just bagpipes. Why? Like, I totally get respect and, like, military, it's fine. It just, I don't know. Personal preference, I hate bagpipes, the most annoying thing in the entire world. But
I don't like bagpipes, but they're a traditional funeral
is that,
thing.
like, a traditional military thing? Because if it is, I totally get it.
At
Okay.
least in films it is, but yeah.
Yeah, it's generally the military tend to do that. As for why it was at Clark's funeral, I have no idea.
Well, I think it might have been the sound from the military one, but then because they're obviously not going to cut the music, they'll just keep the music going on from the
Fair
other
enough, that
one.
might be.
But,
Yeah,
okay.
I would say that was
I-
probably more
I-
tied to his family, because it seems like something that his father would have wanted done, and probably something they did for his father's funeral. So it's probably like more of a Kent thing than anything else.
Maybe, but as I was trying to say as well, it's a good thing there wasn't loads of people at all the funerals. Because that would just raise so many questions.
Yeah.
Because if Superman does eventually return, and he comes out that coffin, we don't need... First of all, we don't need them to actually see Superman escape his coffin. We don't need anyone there when that dirt raised, which they needed for a film standpoint to show he's alive. They did everything right for his death in this.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Superman as a character in this movie, which I have a love-hate with this Superman. There's a lot of things I love what they did with him, and there's a lot of things I'm like,
It's really fucking cool how he heard Alfred in his own, like, super hearing.
Yep.
that was
That's
cool.
fucking
yeah.
awesome.
They showed him here outfit about the super hearing, so he figures out Bruce is Batman on his own, which
Yeah.
is kind of awesome. That's awesome. He's now calling himself Superman. He's back to being basically more like the Superman we know at the Beacon of Hope. Yeah, they draw upon some of the religious stuff for him again, but
Well, that's fine too.
that's part of the character in the comics. If you hate that, you hate him in the
Right.
comics. You shouldn't be watching it. And it's a case of with Superman, with how he is, it's like he's everything Superman normally is supposed to be. That's kind of cool.
See, the problem I had, and I agree with everything you said, Mole, completely. I love the religious iconography. I know some people had issue with him just hovering there while the people were on top of the roof. So I'm like, I think you're supposed to assume he saved him. He didn't just stand there like a jackass and be like, "Ha, you're gonna drown." No, I'm pretty sure he fucking flew down there and saved him. But
No, he was up there thinking, "Oh God, there's so much water here to deny people."
yeah.
Where's my Pope hat?
I will say one thing I didn't like is I didn't feel they evolved Superman enough, because this movie was supposed to be talking about the destruction from Man of Steel and about Superman coming to grips with all the death and destruction and like taking responsibility for it. I don't feel that he really changed that much from Man of Steel in that respect, that he really took the responsibility for it. He understood what was happening, but instead of facing it head on, he kind of ran, and then when he realized things and thought things before himself, he came back. But he still, at the end of the day, didn't really, take responsibility for it and try to do anything with that. He went off and still basically did the same thing he did in Man of Steel. And I was like, I would have preferred a little more evolution from Superman on that front, because I didn't feel we got a resolution to the issue that they were bringing up with this movie of Superman they're now addressing the death and destruction and stuff from Man of Steel. And I didn't feel that was completely addressed in this movie.
They addressed it brilliantly.
I don't think they did, but fair enough.
Because he showed up at the junction and stuff, like the comic thing where they had the trial of Superman and stuff, which is fucking awesome, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Then, later on, his mother was kidnapped. Same thing that happened in the first one. But, how did he react in the first one? His first instinct is just to go and do whatever needed to be done and go fight and do all that shit. This one, he actually makes the sacrifice. He risks his mother dying by not going and doing that straight away. Like, he could have just gone straight up to Batman, chopped off his head, and saved his mother. But this one didn't react that way. Instead, he stopped. he tried to reach a peaceful agreement with Batman. Yeah, Batman didn't have any of it, but he tried. The buildings he knocked Batman into were all abandoned, and he mentioned he'd made sure of it kind of beforehand. And this Superman was going out of his way to make more sacrifices and to be more larger than life, and not just think like the other one where he's on a boat. He's like, I just want to be left alone. This one, while he wanted to be left alone in his private life, hence the glasses, when he's wearing that cape, he is fucking making the sacrifices. He is every bit the character he's supposed to be, and that's probably one of the best evolutions in a comic book movie.
He showed a lot of restraint, and even in his final moments, he still said, "Save my mother," at the very end, rather than, "Oh, don't hurt me."
Yeah, and I will admit that there was an evolution. Yeah, I will admit there was an evolution of Superman. I just felt that while the character of Superman, where he ended up, was great, and what they did with him was great, just I didn't feel there was a satisfactory resolution to the big overarching thing that so many people seem to have a problem with and thought that they were going to get that resolution in this movie. And that was Superman evolving to the point of not only becoming this beacon of hope and stuff, but of reconciling with himself and realizing, his own abilities. And like they said, like they posed a question. People are so preoccupied and concerned with what Superman can do, they don't stop to question whether what he should do. And I still don't get the sense that Superman questioned what he should do. But that's part of the charm of this Superman, and it even is in this movie where you can still see this Superman is still an inexperienced Superman. He's not the Superman we all know and love. He's still hot-headed. He's still, emotional. He's learning to rein that in. Like when he goes to almost blast Doomsday and he stops because he hears Lois pounding, that's an evolution of Superman, which is awesome. But I don't feel that they really resolved the other big prevailing issue before he died.
So
I love the Martha thing.
So you clearly decided to ignore the scenes where he went up to a random mountain and talked to his dad, and the other scene where he talked to his mom.
Yeah, and like I say, he's been going out of his way to try and find his place and try and reconcile and try and do all that stuff. It's not 100. He's not 100% there yet, but that's part of the joy of the DC cinematic universe. I feel the Marvel ones at the end of Iron Man 1, Tony Stark is everything in my opinion he is at the end of Iron Man 3. He just keeps learning the same fucking lesson every fucking movie, and it's fucking ridiculous. Whereas Superman, you're seeing him evolve. Because they're actually taking the characters and they're giving you not the character you want, but they're giving you the promise that they're getting there. And that means so much more. The journey is going to be so much more better.
And I feel like in this, at least with the scene with his dad and with his mom and stuff, you kind of feel like, yeah, he's an alien, but you know what? I was raised here. This is my home too. So when I start, destroying shit, I feel bad about it because this is my home also. Like my other home is dead, and I didn't even really get to know that home. This is my actual home.
Yeah.
That seemed like his dad was weird. I wanted an explanation for that. What the hell's going on here?
That's like the Batman stuff within his mind and stuff like that.
That was weird
you have other explanations for some of the Batman stuff, but with the Superman one as well, I will also point out to you as well. Like I said, it's a lot more subtle with Superman. This isn't like a summer blockbuster film. It's more philosophical and various stuff like that. Like I'd put to you, like Jim, you saw the scene with his mom. Did you see Superman's face when she said, "Or be none of it"?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
His face when he looks at her more like, what? Like that thought hasn't even crossed his mind. That's what Superman should be.
Yeah.
This is more Superman in a realistic way. That's what these films are. Like if Superman actually existed, the world would constantly keep asking questions about whether or not he's a god or what he should do, and it's not just going to go away within the span of 2 hours. That's gonna be a lingering thing, like with some of the stuff with Batman and stuff, where like one cop goes to shoot him because he's unsure, and the other one's like, he's a good guy, he's helping us out and stuff. This film raises so many moral questions, and that's brilliant because that makes it DC grounded in realism, which I like that. I like that realism as opposed to more of the fantasy stuff that just shit happens.
And also, I'm a Boy Scout. It's okay. We're cool, you know.
I will say the one thing I did absolutely love though is with that scene with his mother where where Martha's like, um, you know, you don't owe the world anything, or they don't owe you anything. One of those two, and through his actions, he basically answers his mother by saying, "Well, that may be true. Earth is my home. This is my world. They are my people, and I am their Superman. Whether they love me or they hate me, that's not going to stop me from being who I am and what they need."
Yeah, Superman will always do the right thing. That's why Superman is awesome. That's why people like Superman. It's like I said before now, people. It's weird to explain, but I feel like Batman is the superhero everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to be Batman because they want to be. They want to be or Batman's more the superhero everyone will be, I should put, where they're more like, yeah, we're just going to be dark and stuff like that. That's more who everyone would be. Superman's more who we should strive to be. And that's kind of an interesting thing with Superman. But his best stories are always the ones that question his place in the world.
True. I will say I loved the Martha thing. It never crossed my mind until he said it, and I was like, oh shit, their mothers do have the same first name. I never thought about that. Like, that's fucking clever. I like that.
I actually knew that, but I apparently forgot, or at least I kept my Batman and Superman separate
It's
in my
one of those
brain.
things where you're aware of it, but you never consciously think about it. So when it comes up, it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Unless you read the comics a lot.
Yeah, I remember it because, like I mentioned, they've mentioned it a few times in comics and stuff. And I believe on one of the interviews, the reason that happened was they forgot and they accidentally wrote the wrong name for someone's mother once. But still, it's neither here nor there. But but like I said, I think they used it well. I'm not insulting how they used it. I liked how they used it, and it's not something everyone thinks about. But it's one of those things where the coincidence is big. I feel like at least most fans of the comics realize it, but no one ever uses it in this way, and it was an interesting new way of using it.
And it makes Superman really, really smart because, as we pointed
he
out,
he didn't use it for that reason.
I know, but it makes it seem like he did because he figured out
No,
Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Right now, yeah, but he may have figured out Bruce Wayne was Batman, but he then didn't research, why would he become Batman? Oh, his parents and stuff. What that was Superman dying in his last breath. Instead of even begging for mercy or asking, telling Batman, don't kill me, his only thought is, save my mother. That makes him the hero we know he is. And it sort of cheapens it when people are thinking all this stuff like, oh, he did that to trick Batman. It's like, no, he did that because he wants his mother saved, and Batman doesn't know who he is. So therefore, saying save Martha, when he finds out he means Martha Kent, Batman will save her.
Right. No, it's not. I didn't think he did it to trick Batman. I felt he intentionally invoked the name as opposed to saying "save my mother." Instead of saying that, when I was ready to say "save Martha," because he knew that would give Batman pause.
Yeah, but if he said "save my mother," Batman doesn't know who the fuck to save. Batman doesn't know who the fuck he is.
Yeah, like I would say to you, for example, and obviously it's too late. My mother's already dead, but I will say, you know me.
Mm-hmm.
What's my mother's name?
No idea.
No. Exactly. I would have to tell you the name so you would know who to save.
Pretty much.
So if Batman doesn't know he's Superman and Superman's like, save my mother, like I said, it's not like he can just go, oh, okay, let's go on to Facebook, there's Superman, let's go down to Mrs. Man. Oh, where's his mum? Mrs. Man. She's back there on Super Farm with Crypto.
And also, you're choking to death. You have very little words. You're gonna try to use as little words as possible to communicate your message.
Yeah.
You're gonna die. You have like little time.
Which is fair enough. I don't know. Like I said, it just the way it was put together and the way it was said, it made it seem like Superman was being clever.
No, it was the writers being clever.
Yeah, it was the writers being clever, not Superman. Because even Lois then has to explain to Batman as Superman passes out. No, that's his mother. As Superman's passing out, Batman's like, oh, and then Batman knows who to save.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that. It was just he wanted his mother saved.
Yep.
If anything, it was just a human response of Superman wanting his mother saved. It was that was his way of basically outing his own identity to Batman and saying, no, you know what? Fuck everything I've done with my secret identity. I care about my mother so much that even if this guy could possibly be everything I've read about in the papers, no, I'm going to trust him, which is what Superman always does in the comics, if he's that trustful. And I'm going to give him my identity because it'll save my mother.
And at that point, he probably almost assumed that he was going to die by Batman. So if he dies, at least, like, the one thing he likes will stay and safe, or at least with that attempt.
Yeah. Yep.
True.
Now, I did have one problem with this, but I can get over it because they've done that in the comics before now, and his facial reactions and the pattern was different. It wasn't like Superman Returns when they did this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Batman had to throw the fucking kryptonite spear away. Yeah, Superman picks it up and flies at Doomsday. This is the thing that when it's close to him, takes away his powers.
Yes.
You know see where I'm going with this? Shouldn't he be like going to get you and like hit him like Mr. Burns, giving him the beating of a life? But
that's why they showed him. They showed him that he was only straining every ounce of power left in his cells to keep moving to get to Doomsday.
Yeah, that's why I said, to be fair, I will allow this because of his facial reactions and patterns and stuff, Jim. I already covered that. Because they made it look like a struggle. However, based on how the kryptonite reacted, he shouldn't have been able to do that. But the fact he was just struggling, I will allow that. I'm just saying that's a plot hole.
Yeah, honestly, I thought he was going to give the spear to, like, Batman or something. He's like, okay, you have Batman who's basically doing fuck all, which I thought was brilliant because Batman realizes, I'm just a dude in armor. I can't really hurt this thing. He shoots him with the kryptonite thing. But I thought he was going to give it to Batman or Wonder Woman. Because you have an Amazon warrior standing right there.
Well, I thought it was just Batman to get the spear because Batman's kind of the one who left it in the building and made it and brought it there, and also because again, Superman and the Wonder are the two who can actually fight Doomsday. Batman's got nothing to do. It would have made more sense for him to at least get the spear.
Batman tried. He drove there, crashed his Batmobile, and Doomsday attacked him and Wonder Woman.
And also, Lois moved the staff.
But
no, but I'm saying I thought Superman was going to fly out and toss it to Batman. That's what I was saying.
I was explaining it to Jim, but I was saying with the Superman thing, Superman grabbed it and just wanted to quickly do it fast, so there's going to be less damage and destruction. A lesson he learned from Man of Steel, by the way. But I would also point out as well, I'm no reminiscent not to mention. I mentioned to Simon, I thought this would have been this should have been where they did an Aquaman. This should have been an
expecting
Aquaman
that. I thought maybe they would.
Because it's a spear similar to Aquaman's giant fork, and I know it's got a name, but giant fork, novelty fork, I believe it's called. As it's thrown into the water, I thought Aquaman would have gone, oh, here you go, and handed it to Lois. Well, okay, I didn't think he'd go, oh, here you go, I'm here too, and waves to the camera and leaves. But you know what I mean? It was in his domain of water. I thought Aquaman might have got the spear, and I'm aware it's called a trident before Jim.
No, I know you are.
Wants to stop. Okay.
Yeah, I was waiting
for you to have pulled up Wikipedia. It looked like you had that look on your face. I must correct him. Trident, not giant fork.
No, I knew what you were doing it intentionally, which is why I let the joke fly. But no, yeah, I was kind of expecting an Aquaman cameo there too, but I couldn't figure out exactly where this pool of water came from, what it was connected to, so I wasn't sure.
Well,
they were by the coast. That's why they even mentioned. Oh, it's over. That's why when Lex was there, it's like over there on the coast when you see the logo and stuff like that. It was all building to the coast of Gotham.
The only thing
like the coast in between Metropolis and Gotham.
Fair enough, but that was a pool of water inside a building. That's what was throwing me off.
I think it was like a boathouse.
Oh, okay, that makes sense now.
It was still in a stairwell, though. And I think Aquaman is at the bottom of the ocean right now and not monitoring the activities of Doomsday on land.
Oh, I think he's monitoring the activities of Doomsday, but I figured like he might have just been swimming by and then got hit in the head with a staff and thought, why you? No, I didn't think that. But you know what I mean? It makes sense for just it could. I didn't need to know why he would pop up. I just expected it with the focus on the water. I was like, oh, it's going to be Aquaman.
Yeah. But speaking of which, when Superman flew over to save her, and I know this probably was the attempt, but so Superman flies up in the air like he's about to attack Doomsday again, and all of a sudden he hears the boom, boom, boom of Lois patting it out. Am I the only one who, he glanced to the side as he's listening to this? Am I the only one who almost thought he was like, almost got a feeling he was like, God damn it, Lois.
I personally thought he should have just gone heat vision and then flew back at Doomsday, because he could have literally cut a hole into the rock which he was pounding on.
You would think.
Yeah, but he wants to be all like emotional, hug you, like touchy
He has to say an emotional goodbye so that he can, before he goes to die.
I don't think he knew. A, he knew it was her, and B, when he got there, she was already pretty much passed out due to lack of oxygen and
That
middle
too.
drowning.
Yeah.
But I love that scene because it shows that he learned from the courthouse thing, because he says to Lois, "I didn't stop it because I wasn't looking for it. My guard was down," and it shows that he learned from that. And going into the Doomsday fight, he kept his guard up. He kept his senses sharp. He was listening and looking for everything. That's why he heard Lois pounding. Otherwise, he would have dismissed it.
And
Because he learned from that. He was like, "Huh, that's not right."
and can I say the Doomsday fight was pretty much handled perfectly?
It was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason that it was handled perfectly is the best solution would have been Wonder Woman holding that lasso and holding him in place, because that's the only thing that can contain Doomsday and stop him getting out. Batman isn't powerful enough, so him just standing back and taking his shots works, and just standing in the background. And then Superman going in, boom, and then you get obviously the death of Superman. I liked it. I'm like, that makes perfect sense to me. And I've seen people ask for various stuff swapped around. Like, some people wanted Batman to get the stick, other people wanted Wonder Woman to, other people were like, oh, why didn't Batman just give Superman the kryptonite gun and then he could shoot? I'm like, no to all of this. How they did it was perfect. I like that.
I'd say that Batman, even though he couldn't directly fight him, he served a very good purpose at being a distraction. Like, hey, you, look at me, I'm doing this thing to you, so the other people can get a shot at you.
That's kind of what Batman does in the comics, though.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying. So he did not do fuck all. He had a purpose there.
Yeah, and he shot the cannon.
Well, also, at the end of the day, that's the essence of Batman. If you look at what Batman does as Batman, and he even says it multiple times throughout any iteration of Batman, he's a master in the art of misdirection. It's what he does. It's what makes him effective as Batman. Yep. And that's what he did in this movie to Doomsday. He misdirected him. He got the fuck out of there. It was like, I'm a distraction.
It's like, with Batman, I will also go back now, since we talked about all of that stuff. I will point out, love the armored Batman suit, since I didn't mention
cool.
Batman. Love the voice modulator, so he doesn't have to do the swirl.
Love how we saw Alfred working on it to explain how it worked.
Yeah, which is good. And also, just so people didn't think he was doing a fake voice. And I also loved the fact, because nowadays, with the fact it's not a fake voice, if you're trying to do this Batman and trying to do like the "do you bleed" or any of the other catchphrases this Batman does, and you're using and you're trying to do a fake voice, you clearly didn't understand this film and are too stupid for it. But basically, when it comes to, which is good, because the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, how many people were doing a voice?
Everyone.
I'm thinking it made an impression. It doesn't. But basically, with this Batman as well, he detected.
Yes.
Hardly anyone points that out as a big thing. I am aware, but I love the fact he detected. This Batman was actually being a detective. That's what Batman's meant to do. It's in his title of world's greatest detective and sometimes killer.
He also spent a substantial amount of time as Bruce Wayne, which I also really appreciated.
Yes, but here's that wasn't one thing I did say about Bruce Wayne. I like the fact that, okay, cool, he's really, but the problem that I have is that how has nobody, based on what we've seen, figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman? Because number one, let me couple of things. Number one, okay, he's doing suspicious shit at Lex's party, fair enough, whatever. Number two, he's running into bringing chaos in a city and saving people's lives. Number three, the fact that if you go on the internet and take a look for it, there's an Wired partnered with Warner Brothers, and they did a faux interview with Lex Luthor in universe. And there's a part where they show a chart of companies. And about, okay, LexCorp is proposing $2 billion for defense in the next budget, whatever she's talking about, because they show the companies, and they got Cord Industries and Queen and all the known DC companies, and Wayne Enterprises is down there at $92 million, and in a little spurt it makes the point that Wayne Enterprises spends has explicitly refused government contracts for defense, which makes you wonder why Mr. Wayne would spend almost 9 figures on airplane and exosuit technology that has proven no effective use. It's like, okay, if it's public knowledge he's building planes and exosuits and he's running around saving people, how has nobody put together this dude's Batman?
Yeah, but I would put it to you, how does that work in the comics too? Because I believe it was Funny or Die or College Humor, one of those did one of those videos that you like, and they pointed out who else in Gotham could afford a stealth jet?
That's him.
That right there should tip you off. Or hey, Batman has a little kid with him now called Robin. Bruce Wayne has a kid with him. Batman's Robin died. Oh, Bruce Wayne no longer has a kid. No one puts this together. We're just going to accept this. It's part of the joy of a secret identity. All secret identities are extremely flawed. That's why nowadays, like on DC TV, everyone in their closest circle figures it out, so there's less pissing around with will they figure them out.
Yep.
All secret identities are extremely flawed. But yeah, I love the detecting part of Batman. Like I said, he's the world's greatest detective, and in most of the other films, he hasn't detected.
My fist will detect your face.
I also found it interesting that half of it was Alfred, which I loved, where he's like, where Bruce is like, I'm gonna have to go in, because Batman's not gonna be able to get to this unless I just go straight in, and Alfred's like, well, Bruce Wayne can. I'm just like, woo.
Yeah,
because Bruce Wayne has been invited into his house, and Bruce is like, huh.
To be fair, that wasn't Alfred helping. That was more their banter of Bruce wanting to go in there as Batman and Alfred doing everything he can to just make him be Bruce Wayne. That's part of the joy of Alfred. He's like, no, calm your tit. Stop being Batman.
I love Alfred, though.
That was an exact quote.
But he doesn't. Even when he's Bruce Wayne, he's Batman.
Yeah.
I
love Alfred. It's for you to take control. Right. And he has like a transformer seat thing with the with the controls. He's like, I'm detecting like 20 hostiles on the 3rd floor. Therefore, I'm going to let you off on the 2nd. That's still like my favorite line of the entire movie.
Yeah, I like that. My favorite line of the entire movie is still Perry. The one I mentioned to you before anyone completes the quote, but I've already mentioned this to people before. Just the one of when Clark is telling him about the bat from Gotham. He's like, oh, crime wave in Gotham. Cool. And in other breaking news, water is wet. And I'm just like, oh yes, I laughed way more than I should have. I was just like,
yeah, that was a pretty funny line.
I also loved that scene where Alfred's like, hey, can you give me a hand opening this box? Do you have a crowbar? And not just a Jason Todd memorial. He didn't. He didn't. That would be horrible.
You're a horrible person.
That would be almost as bad as, we'll just save it for the other generations of Waynes. Oh wait, there isn't going to be any.
Yep. Now the real question I would have going forward, just because I'm assuming we've wrapped up the discussion.
You gotta do the Justice League people. You said.
Yeah, I assume we're gonna do cameos in a sec, but I just wanted to say, will we see Supergirl at any point?
It's a possibility. I don't think it's going to be the TV one.
Because?
No, because she's already in this universe.
Yes.
They've already confirmed she's in this universe, which means it won't be the TV show. I wasn't asking about that, because in that one, Superman had been Superman for like 30-odd years before Supergirl even did anything, or 20-odd years. This one, she's already come out the pod. I can tell the differences, but it's a case of Superman's now dead. Will this rally her to maybe join the Justice League so we could have 2 supers?
That'd be interesting.
Because you could get Supergirl for Justice League Part 1 and never have to do Superman until Part 2.
True.
That's true.
There is one character I would like to see, despite the fact I thought what they did with the Death and Return of Superman wasn't that great in the comics, but I still love this character and I'd love to see a live-action version. Nope. We saw that. It didn't work out. No. The character I want to see is the Eradicator. I love that character. Because I think, A, he's cool looking, and B, I don't know. I just love he comes down and he's like, he's not evil, he's not bad. He's just like, my mission is to protect the sanctity of all Kryptonian life. And when the last living Kryptonian falls, that activates him and brings him down to try to save him. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Which didn't make any sense. Because even at the time, wasn't there like Supergirl and Krypto and stuff? Superman stopped being the last. So the last son of Krypton ages ago.
Isn't there a whole
Technically-
bottle city full of Kryptonians?
Yeah.
There, he wouldn't know about that. But technically, at that time, Supergirl was not a Kryptonian. She was that clone metamorphing thing that.
Oh,
Luthor
you know about
created.
the Linda one?
Matrix.
Oh, okay.
That's the Supergirl that was at the time. The one that was Luthor's
Yeah,
pet.
but they had Power Girl,
True.
who is Supergirl,
Mhm.
essentially.
Basically.
But yeah, and stuff like that. So it's like there's been other Kryptonians, and it's like it always makes me laugh when people call him the last son of Krypton, and there's like a load of them. It's like when people
Yeah.
call the Flash the fastest man alive, and then Reverse Flash, Zoom, Superman, Supergirl have all at some point beat him in speed.
Well,
Yes,
maybe
but
he's the
I-
last
yes, but I
like
think only very
son.
honest were fast enough to break the space-time continuum.
Maybe
Yeah,
he's
but
like,
I mean, but his enemies have also done that.
or Mo, maybe like when they say last son, okay, you got Supergirl, girl,
Yeah.
you got Crypto
last
dog.
son, last daughter, last dog of Krypton.
It's last
Yeah.
son specifically, you know, last like plant life. I don't know, like last like memento,
Last beanbag of Krypton.
last jar of kryptonite M&Ms. I don't know.
I would read a comic called The Last Beanbag of Krypton. And it's just various superheroes going to sit in it and going, no, this is too hard. Then Superman sits in it and goes, this is just right, and that's the end. It would be the most mundane comic ever.
Yeah.
And I would say at one point, Wally West was in fact the fastest man alive, because at one point he was the Speed Force, and he was pissed at Bart for forcing him into it too.
Yes, but I would also say, at some point, while he may have been the fastest one, at some point, he also gets beat by his enemies. Like all the evil Flashes and stuff have at some point beat him at speed, because you need to believe that the
Right.
villain can out whatever you. Like,
Right.
Venom can out Spider-Man him.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Oh, it's just one of those things that's slightly funny. But yeah, they're cameos.
Yeah, the cameos.
We have Pew.
Oh, sorry.
I
I
was
didn't know it was not in the
disappointed
camera.
with the cameos a little bit. I wanted a little bit more. I thought that it was too short, and I didn't like the fact. What?
Okay then.
I'm just laughing when you say that he's short, because going into this, as we've had the discussion with you, and I know other people have, one of the biggest complaints was the cameos were going to be too long.
Yes, that is true. I felt that they took that too literally and went too far in the other direction with it.
I thought they were
I'm like-
perfect, because I thought they were just there for like little teasers, and exactly what they say, cameos. If it becomes longer, it's not a cameo, it's a part. It's like, when was the last time you watched The Avengers and thought, you know what, Stan Lee should have a 5-minute scene? No, you don't, because it's a cameo. That's the purpose of a cameo, is to be a condensed little, oh, I see what they did there. Move
Yeah,
on.
but like you said, you were thinking Aquaman was going to come in at the end. That would have been perfect. I felt that Victor Stone got kind of screwed, because I didn't even realize that was him until I read the end credits. I was like, oh yeah, Cyborg was in this movie. Oh, that was Cyborg. Because literally, I couldn't see his face. All I saw was the body on the table.
You don't need to see his face. Everything about that, number one, the symbol that he clicked on and everything about that screams Cyborg's origin. If you haven't read enough comics to know Cyborg's origin, that's your fucking problem, not the filmmakers.
That was
Also,
my
Cyborg had the longest.
If they did the New 52 origin with the mother box, which is cool, but even
Fine.
before that, the symbol they clicked on was Cyborg, which means you should have known it then. When you see him on the table, and hey, the guy on the table being operated on in a cybernetic way. Spoiler alert, Marcus, he's not Robin.
Yeah, and when the Dr. Gorgon goes out of his way as long to say, this is Dr. Silas Stone, I tried this, and it hasn't worked.
Yes, and I was saying, before I was interrupted, I was going to say, yes, when he said his name, that should have tipped me off. I didn't put two and two together. I didn't recognize the symbol. And it wasn't until I realized, oh yeah, Cyborg's supposed to be in the movie. Oh crap, that was Cyborg. Because when I saw him on the table, I didn't even recognize that as a body. I'm like, what is that? Because it was so small.
And also,
To be fair, you weren't saying that. You literally said you didn't know. You didn't even there was no sign, including a name, until the end credits. Was what you said. It wasn't
No, I said I didn't realize it was
you were
him until
saying that.
I didn't realize it was him until the end credits, and I was going to say right after that, what should have tipped me off was the father, but then you guys started talking over me.
And also, the Cyborg actually had the longest cameo out of all of them because
He did.
Yeah.
Flash was like, okay, done. Hey, I'm Aquaman.
Actually,
like,
Flash had the longest cameo because Flash was in Bruce's dream. He had a
Flash
flash
okay,
too.
but I meant like the little clicking ones.
Yeah, the clicking ones. Cyborgs was the longest. I also felt like Cyborgs was brilliant. Like I said, it doesn't distract by being too long like people would. They're just little teasers. And when you actually see the Cyborg one, you know his origin a bit now. Then they can dive more into it instead of giving away too much. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say my biggest problem with what they did, and it made me facepalm, and I was like, really? And that was the fact that if you look at each of the folders that they're in data and the footage and everything is into on Luthor's drive there, it has their emblems. And I'm like, where did Luthor get their emblems? I mean, half their footage is them in like civilian clothing. You can't. How would Luthor know about their emblems?
I would
Wonder Woman had her
Wonder
armor.
Woman's, yes. Wonder Woman I can accept.
Wonder
Yes.
Woman had her armor. Flash, we don't know because we saw him in Bruce's and we saw the logo on his chest there. So we don't know how many of these he's seen. Because as we saw from the Wonder Woman ones, he has multiple of the same people. And the Cyborg one, isn't that circle? Isn't that not technically the symbol for Cyborg? So in some stuff, that's been the symbol of his dad's company as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The company that makes them. So I would say, which one would you have a problem with? The only one that you might do is Flash, which I'd argue it's a lightning bolt, which means quick.
Yeah, and
Aquaman.
Aquaman's is a symbol for Atlantis, which I'm pretty sure was on his trident.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Aquaman's was also on his stuff, so I don't
know. It just felt a little too on the nose to me that he just happens to have them parsed up by their like signature emblems. I'm like,
given the eccentricness of this particular Lex Luthor, I could see him doing that because he likes to have fun with it.
He likes to have fun with stuff, and also he was really bright and colourful and dramatic. He would like it like that, so when he clicks on them, he knows what they are just by view.
Like he's like, ooh, yeah.
Yep.
It's like he figured out that they were Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, which was wonderful. I do kind of like the scene where he's like, "Oh, Clark Kent meet Bruce Wayne, yay!" And I'm like, "That's kind of awesome." I still giggled as well at with some of the stuff like that, like Perry. Perry was wonderful in this. I will just say that, like I mentioned before. Like, even though it was in the trailer, I still sniggered in the cinema. Come on, no one wants to see Clark Kent take on the Bat, and I'm like,
I don't know. I felt like there should have been a little explanation as to how or why Lex knows that Clark is Superman, because to me that felt like it came out of nowhere. I just happen to know your secret identity. I'm like, how? Explain yourself.
He knows because he's been following him, as we saw there. So you put two and two together, he's probably seen him at some point fly down. Plus, he knows Lois has always been saved. True. It's not hard to figure out if Lois has always been saved by Superman. Chances are that new guy who happens to look like Superman with glasses might be Superman.
Also, they're kind of probably seen together at work, or at least being friendly, or, you know.
Plus, before he figured out Clark's identity as well, he entered the Kryptonian ship with all known details. He might have got the information from that, of all details in the universe, because Zod knew his secret identity. Like, Zod had done research.
Yeah.
That is true, and that is a possibility. I would also like to point out, I can't remember which one of you two mentioned this to me the other day, but that apparently Superman's secret identity is valid and works.
It does, yeah, I mentioned that. It does, and it is
with
valid.
Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, like Christopher Reeve's story was wonderful.
You don't expect someone to be like a celebrity or something.
The thing is, Christopher Reeves, when he was shooting the movie, and Mole can correct me if I'm wrong in telling this, he walked into like a diner or something dressed as Superman because he was, shooting the movie, and everyone mobbed him because, fucking Superman. Oh, it's Christopher Reeves.
Yep.
He leaves. He comes back dressed as Clark Kent. No one bats an eyelash.
Yep, pretty much.
Oh, it's
Whenever-
even more than that. Okay, because just a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
just a couple of weeks ago, okay,
Yeah, the current one did it.
yeah, Henry Cavill went to Times Square wearing a Superman shirt, and no one recognized him.
Yep. Wearing a Superman t-shirt, but as he also mentioned, wasn't he also wearing the Clark Kent glasses?
Was he? I don't know.
He was wearing the glasses.
Yeah, and no one recognised him.
Ah.
The disguise works. It's like hell. Every like 5 minutes of this video, I've been wondering who the hell's that like Jackie Chan guy on one of the screens going onto glasses. But it's cool. It's cool. I'll give it a second or two. Marcus comes back.
Yep.
Ah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go on to probably my biggest problem with the movie. Like, I loved all the action. I loved like the character pieces. The acting was good. Cinematography was great. I felt this movie was all over the place. I felt that the cutting, it was really confusing. Always intercutting between this, that, and stuff, giving no explanation as to what it is I'm seeing. And I know a lot of other people are problems with that too. And that was one of my first things when I was watching the movie. I'm like, okay, I can kind of piece this together, but I'm like, it's really like a jumbled mess, and it's boom, 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 with no explanation. And it like for instance, when Batman is in the desert with the trench coat and stuff, it took me a few moments to realize, oh wait, this is a vision, because the cutting was just so bad. And I'm like, by the end of the movie, I'm like, this is a fucking clusterfuck. The editing on the movie is terrible.
But the thing, you weren't supposed to think, oh, this is a vision straight away. It's a famous thing in films and TV shows where you're like, oh, and then something tips you off about it. It's like whenever there's a dream sequence in a TV show, they don't highlight it first. If there's always that moment every now and again on a TV show where you're like, oh, it's a dream, okay. But like, and you're like, oh, you cock teeth. That's what that scene kind of was. And
someone did mention.
I would argue this film is really fucking easy to follow. If you know what's what within the film and stuff, this was really easy to follow, to the point, like I mentioned, I've seen this, as you saw photos and stuff as well, I saw this with two little kids, and they repeated almost word for word, well not word for word, but they repeated back the entire plot of the story without any sense of what didn't happen when they were telling their mother about it.
Mm-hmm. I can see what Jeff's talking about, just because I personally didn't experience this myself, but I had a friend who saw it, and I'll say that they don't read comics or anything, they just watch the movies, and they said they felt like sometimes they felt like they were being cut into the middle of a conversation each time, and they got confused. But like I said, they don't really know anything about Superman or Batman or anything or any of the context, so I could just say that it's like that, and they kind of just went on a whim. So, and I didn't even see the first the Superman movie. So
yeah, I felt the only reason I even remotely knew what was going on was because I am a fan of the comics and the characters, and I kind of, okay, that's from that, okay, I see what's going on here. But it's like a lot of it was, I kept saying over and over again, explain yourself. It felt like this movie doesn't explain anything and just drops it in your face and expects you to accept it at face value. And I'm like, give me some explanations here.
Yeah, which I was like the opposite, and I believe me and Jim had that conversation the other day. I like the fact this movie doesn't handhold like some of the Marvel ones does. It goes where it needs to go brilliantly. If you're a fan of the comics, there's a lot of Easter eggs and treats for you. And yeah, sometimes it might be like, oh, that was a dream sequence, but that happens on TV shows, and I'm like, besides that, everything was really fucking easy to follow. I found this one more easy to follow than a lot of films.
Yeah, and it's more along the lines of DC decided to go, whereas Marvel likes to go on the assumption that you don't know anything about these people on screen, so we're going to make sure to explain it so you know. DC went on the assumption of 98% of people have a general idea who these characters are. We're not going to handle it because you can figure it out, and if not, go look it up.
Yeah, it's like Batman's origin, which while there was the dream bit of the bats carrying him up at the beginning, they did it that way, so you know about, oh, he found the bat cave and then the bats, and that's what happened and stuff, so you know it wasn't like the bat coming through the window. You could pretty much go, oh, okay, what I know about him from, if you didn't read the comics, if you're like, oh, what I know from the Dark Knight trilogy still carries over. Because that was like a sort of a buffer between the two, and
Right.
yeah, like I like that, Jim. I really do like that. It was like
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess I just felt because Superman had his own entire movie, so you have his backstory, his origin story, his powers, and then they spent a lot of time with Batman in this, which I'm not sure I agree with. Starting with that kind of threw me off too, because I was like, wait, you're starting with Batman's origin story? It's like,
Well, I feel the need to note to you, Marcus, the movie is Batman v Superman.
True.
Batman's name is first in the title for a reason.
But I feel that if you're gonna do that and you're giving Batman's story, you can't just drop Wonder Woman in there with no explanation. They don't even name her. At least, have her name mentioned once. Explain something instead of random warrior woman with battle armor, sword, shield, and lasso.
Dick. Dick.
Marcus,
Hold on.
did you see this film? Did you see this film?
Yes.
How much screen time did that character get before he actually got the name Superman?
Yes, but that entire movie was about him. If they'd have given her that amount of screen time and then given her a name, fair enough.
Yeah,
the fact of the matter is they dropped her into the movie, and not once did they even give her her name.
Yeah, because she's like a teaser.
But no. Hold on.
Because they're giving her a Wonder Woman film.
Yeah.
And also, they did question her existence several times and be like, whoa, who is this? And clearly she wanted to keep her identity a secret.
Yes,
and they did question her dropping in.
They did state enough of who she was, again, for those with knowledge, enough of who she was, because near the end, when she was going to the battle, when she got off the plane, the stewardess came behind her and went, Miss Prince, where are you going?
Yeah, and the file on Lex's computer, if you paid attention and read, says Wonder Woman.
I thought it was just the logo, but fair enough.
That the address going across, it mentioned Wonder Woman. Which, yeah, like I said, she's getting her own film. So she'll be named and stuff more in that. This was more of a teaser. Because I would also argue they didn't name the Flash.
Nope.
Totally awesome Flash, no.
Yeah, they didn't name Aquaman or anything.
Yep. And they also took that approach in terms of, do we lose Pew?
I'm right here.
Okay.
I don't know, this stupid freaking thing.
Yeah, they also took that approach with Batman's origin because they said we're not, we're gonna, we don't need to handhold Batman's origin. You know who Batman is. We're just gonna say, okay, this Batman is a little bit more intense. Okay, something might have happened with Robin because there's raping on the suit. His mansion is burned out, and there's like question marks, and his villain indicates that something happened to his mansion. Some shit went down in Batman's past, and he's a more hardened Batman than you're used to. But we're not gonna go into that right now because we got more important shit to go. But that's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, this film was made for fans, not for the average like popcorn audience or for non-fans. Because I would argue, you're a fan, Marcus. You know who she is.
Yes.
Why do you need them to have a big banner telling you her name?
Yep.
No, I just felt it would have been a little more fluid if they had at least just mentioned it once or something. Because they mentioned Batman, they mentioned Superman, they never mentioned who she is, and I'm like,
Actually,
because no one knows who the fuck she is.
Actually, Batman isn't really called Batman. Most of the time, he's just the Bat from Gotham.
Yeah, or the Vigilante.
Yeah.
The only one who actually, I don't think anybody ever actually, does anybody call him Batman outright?
I'm fairly certain the name is mentioned at least once.
Yeah, but he's the title of the thing as well, and he's got more screen time to name ratio, but as I was pointing out, but also most of the time he's not called Batman, but we know he's Batman.
We usually say the Bat, and then he, Lex says the Knight.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, it's for the point of, because you have to remember, she's, as we established, she's immortal. There's a picture of her with Captain Kirk from 1918 she doesn't want people to see because she doesn't want people to know who the hell she is.
Yeah.
She's been in hiding for all this time, whether among man's world or whether back at Themyscira. She's been in hiding. Nobody knows who the fuck she is because everybody that knew who she was in 1918 is fucking dead.
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal when she finally reveals her name to people.
Yes.
It would be shit to just throw that away.
This is true. It's same with the other three.
Yep.
Well, it makes sense not to name the other three because they were just really, really short little clips.
Flash in a time portal.
Yeah, but no one really knew that was Flash. In fact, initially I didn't know that was Flash. Initially I was like, who the hell is that? Is that like Orion or something? And I eventually figured out it was Flash. I was like, oh wait, that was Flash.
How
I
did
had
you not
no
know it was Flash?
What the hell would you get Orion?
Yeah, it has Flash's logo, the same face as Flash, and there's lightning going around him, like Flash as he's running.
And he's running in place, I think.
To
Yeah,
be
they
fair,
couldn't
I
have
had
made it
seen
more obvious.
Flash's face until this movie. I didn't really ever look him up.
Yeah, but they could
But,
have made it more obvious.
Yeah. Well, I realized it was Flash, but I was like, wait, that's red and gold lightning. Ah, that's the Flash. Okay, fair enough.
You should. He's Ezra Miller. He's in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and he's awesome. Go see that movie.
At last, Marcus is the guy who's the explanation for the question of why do they keep doing it.
Yep.
What?
Marcus is the explanation for why people always have to go, is that a bird? No, that's a plane. And then someone's like, no, that's Superman. And Mark's like, oh, now I get it. The cape didn't tip me off. Thank you, the Flash costume didn't tip anyone off.
I didn't see that. All I saw was the mask. But even then, that wasn't clear. Like, to me, I couldn't make out who the hell it was until I looked at the lightning, and I was like, oh, it's the Flash.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll admit that when it first showed up, like, wait, what the hell, Portal? And then it took me a second. Whenever I was, oh wait, Portal, that's got to be the Flash because the Flash is the only guy I know who can, easily run through time like that.
I recognized it because I swear I saw his lightning bolt.
It was probably there, but that's just not what draws the eye when there's giant portal going on. Your eye isn't running the dude's chest.
The face. And in all honesty, the reason I shot straight to Orion is because I knew everything was like tied to Darkseid and Apocalypse and stuff. And I know for a fact that I think it's Orion, or was it or Metron? The guy with the fucking Mobius chair. I know he can go through time and stuff, and like have portals and stuff. So that's why I shot that, because I was like, oh, well, given the fact what these visions are about, maybe it's someone tied to like Darkseid or Apocalypse. That's why my mind didn't immediately shoot to Flash.
Didn't he have like the little antenna? Not antennas, like the Flash
lightning bolts on
ears.
his
Yeah.
The other thing I did think was cool about the Flash, I know that there's some incarnations where he had like an outer face mask that hides him and that for running through time, and then it flipped up and he had his regular face mask that he could see and talk through. I thought that was cool.
I also love the fact, like people have said, with DC, they've done something Marvel hasn't really done as much.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Marvel, every single thing in their like Phase 1 and Phase 2, and I'm just mentioning this because people always have to compare the two. The Marvel movies still look fun. I'm looking forward to eventually watching Civil War when it comes out on Blu-ray and stuff. But this film in particular, the DC one, there's so many Easter eggs in there, like we mentioned, like we keep making jokes about the Robin suit with the spray paint on, or Flash running through the portal and then Bruce going and then wakes up again. That could have been a dream, or they could go to that and do a Flashpoint film, or they could turn out and say, oh, let's do a prequel and let's make it about explaining that suit so we see the night Jason Todd dies. Or they could go, and bring in the Red Hood and draw upon the Jason Todd story that way. Like, so many things in this were seeds that they could draw on if they ever wanted to. It doesn't feel as much like they'd be pulling it out their ass.
And what seems to me, Mole, I think the Flash scene was tied to the scene before it that we haven't addressed, where Batman's in a desert wearing a trench coat and he fights a bunch of dudes because he thinks he's getting kryptonite. But then he gets attacked by a bunch of guys in suits with Superman logos on their shoulder. It sounded like Flash was warning him about that, which looked suspiciously like Injustice.
That's what I thought, too. I was like, wait, are they doing Injustice? What the fuck?
That's not Injustice, though, because we saw the Darkseid thing fly down.
True, but it almost makes you wonder, because that could be a thing. Because if Superman turns around and subjugates the world and the other heroes who don't side with him are gone, they're not going to be powerful enough to fight Darkseid and they're going to get run down by him. So it's entirely possible that the purpose of Flash Back in Time was to make sure Bruce, he said Lois Lane is the key. We know generally Justice Lois Lane dying is what sent Superman over the edge. If he can prevent Lois Lane's death, Superman will stay on their side, Justice League will be intact, and then they'll actually be able to fight Darkseid.
Yeah, but I'm saying it might not necessarily be the Injustice one that everyone jumped on, because, again, Easter eggs. There's Easter eggs for loads of stuff in that. Like, the Darkseid stuff seems to cancel the Injustice stuff, which is awesome. And then we've had, the way he does it as well is almost like the Flashpoint part, which, again, that's awesome. And there's various stuff like that, which is cool. Like the fact he mentions Lois is the key, and that Lois needs to be saved, and then through their actions, like through Batman actually saving people's lives and actually saving Martha's life, Superman then makes the decision to go and save Lois. You could argue that was the Lois when she needs rescuing. Like they needed to convince Superman to rescue her during the Doomsday fight. To put, there's millions of ways they could go with that, and that's cool. I like that.
I think, and they all had the Superman logo, because off screen Superman had the Pope hat, and he dressed them all like in his image.
That would be cool.
Interesting also.
I also love that Flash is like, Bruce, you were right about him.
You were right all along.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, ooh.
Batmobile was pretty cool too, and it was cool how like you could see the Batmobile took like a ton of shit, like even RPGs and stuff. But then Superman stopped and is like, psh.
Yeah, I love the Batmobile and the Batplane in this.
Yeah, like I said, there's ties to all that stuff. There was even ties to, and there's various Easter eggs of little stuff on the desks and all that, to the Arkham games.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I also love the fact that this Batman relied very heavily on his gadgets, which is what Batman should be doing. He's a great fighter and all that, but he's also still just a man, and he knows this, hence why he's pulling out batarangs, using his grapple, using smoke bombs,
Yep.
jacking other people's guns.
Yep, and I still love that scene where Superman essentially destroys the Batmobile, tells him this is a mercy. But then I still love that line. We saw it in the trailers, and it didn't mean as much as in the actual film of Batman just asking him, do you bleed? Mainly because Superman's stopping and sort of looking back at him, like, really, you want to do this? And he's like, no, you know what, and just flies off. And then Batman is just like, you will. It's like, that's just a great scene. I feel like it's one of those scenes haters of this film are probably going to fucking try and mimic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could see a little 12-year-old, I could see like a 12-year-old kid going, oh, do you bleed, into a camera, because it's like, that's the kind of thing they did with like The Dark Knight, and it's like, sorry, when puberty hits, you'll be affected.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I really like the tone of this movie. I really do. I thought it was the perfect tone.
I also don't like the fact in the reviews, that's been one thing people have also slated, is people have been complaining about the tone, being like, ooh, we don't like it being dark for the sake of being dark, it should be like the Marvel films, which I say, isn't being bright for the sake of being bright equally as bad as being dark for the sake of being dark?
Yes.
The comic this one's based on is one of the darkest comics. It should be dark. Fuck it, let it be its own thing. And before, I know people are like, oh, but that means that they're always going to make the films dark. They're doing fucking Lobo. I don't think Lobo is going to be done. They can't do a Lobo movie and make it dark. Too dark, because it won't work. And there was humour in this.
Yep.
There was more humour than people made out, because people are like, oh, there's no humour. There was lots.
And now you can also have those things, because if they're bringing a Lobo movie for DC, and given what's already been established in Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy, if they inevitably get to the point where they sign on to amalgam, we can have Lobo the Duck.
Yep.
I would also say they're doing Hal Jordan. You can't do Hal Jordan and not make him snarky. That's who Hal Jordan is.
Remember, though, they're doing Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. The movie is Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, but Hal Jordan is going off with Barry Allen, aren't they? Aren't they doing that buddy cop Flash Green Lantern
They're meant to
movie?
be doing a Flash.
No, the buddy cop is Hal and Jon Stewart. It's nothing to do with the Flash.
They also said there was going to be a Flash Green Lantern film. At one point.
Well, the last report that was said was it was going to be Green Lantern Corps. It was going to be Hal and Jon Stewart in a buddy cop movie that was described as Lethal Weapon in space.
Which it's still humor, which makes sense because Hal is inherently just a dry humor kind of snarky kind of guy.
Yeah, but like we need like I said, I like this because like I said, this film is one of the few times I felt Superman was Superman on a big screen.
Like
I know people are going to say like the Christopher Reeve ones, but yes, but only for two of them. Let's not forget 3 and 4 was pretty fucking terrible. I never felt like that was Superman when it was the Atom flying around. Boom. And but I did feel like this is Superman. Like I said, like in the first one, his facial expressions, the way he carries himself, the story around him, and I don't know, just seeing him in the suit and just the way he carries himself is hopeful, and that's kind of Superman.
Hmm. I also love, and a couple of reviewers made this point, and I hadn't really thought about it, but it makes a lot of sense, and it explains a lot of why they did some of the things they did. This movie is very much Superman's story, but it's from the perspective of everyone else looking at Superman. And I'm like, I hadn't thought of that, but that makes complete and total sense.
See, I always see it the other way. If it's Batman and Superman's story, but Batman just needs a bit more screen time because he's not as established.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about this movie is there's a lot of good stuff in here, but I did feel like they put a lot in this movie, and it did crowd it a little bit. Because it was partial part Batman movie, part Man of Steel 2, part Justice League setup. There's all kinds of different things they were trying to do in here, and it did feel like they put a lot in one movie, and it did feel a little crammed.
I would argue it wasn't Man of Steel 2 until they call it Man of Steel 2.
I also, like, before I went to see this movie, and Mo can verify this, like, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be late for the meeting or not. I was like, so how long is this movie? And I'm like, he's like, 2.5 hours. I'm like, shit, that's long. But, like, as soon as I saw the movie, like, I was, like, on the edge of my seat the whole time. I didn't feel like, oh, this is too long. I'm going to be here forever. I was, like this, like, the whole time on the edge of my seat. So
and we still have an extra 30 minutes to come.
Yeah, so like I feel like yeah they like crammed a lot in here I guess, but that's because like I'm glad they did, because I got more shit out of it. Like I'm glad they didn't waste time explaining stuff and handholding because I get more out of it,
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Like there wasn't a moment I wasn't just sat there like, oh god, yes. Hell, even near the end of the film, I kind of needed to pee. But I was like, no, I'm gonna hold this in because I'm not leaving my seat for this. This is fucking awesome. And it was awesome.
Yeah. One other thing I will note as we get to the end of the movie here.
Yes.
I know a lot of people in. I was a little bit, but I know a lot of people in my theater sat there and were disappointed there wasn't an after credit scene.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Because was there one in Man of Steel?
I don't remember.
No.
I didn't see Man of Steel in theater, so I couldn't tell you.
There wasn't. Yeah, but you've seen the Blu-ray. You could have fast forward and saw the end. They only put one of the discs too. But yeah, right. Basically there wasn't a Man of Steel. That's a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
And it annoys me. I will say that's one complaint that annoys me. Is people were like, a lot of people have been like, oh, we sat through to the end of your credits and then we were like, boo, we're disappointed and it sucks because there's no end credit scene. And I'm like, okay. And based on some of their other complaints, you can clearly tell that they're the same type of people that if there was one, would have been fast to just jump on the fact, oh, you're just trying to copy Marvel. It's like if DC does what Marvel does, they're called copycats. If they ignore and if they don't do what Marvel does, they're insulted for not doing it. It's like,
it was long enough. I didn't need it.
Yeah, because they didn't need an end credit scene because we had the scene with Lex.
Yeah.
He was the end credit scene, but before the credits, talk about he's coming.
Yeah, that and the whole dirt rising off of Superman's casket. The whole he's not dead.
But yeah, but like I said, that would when I was talking about with Lex, that was more establishing stuff for the next one with setting up. Ooh.
The bell's been rung, Batman.
Oh, by the way, speaking of that scene, I love that scene.
Oh my god, Batman v Taker.
Metropolis, I'm here. Ha!
No.
But no, I love that last scene because I almost squeaked out loud in the theater at that particular scene because I'm like, holy fuck, that's classic Batman entrance right there of gates open. He's like forehead on the wall, hands behind your head so I can cuff you. Gate opens, lights go out, flickers, comes back up, Batman's just standing there. I'm like, oh shit!
And he does that weird like warp thing when it blinks, like he only moves when the lights go out.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
That was brilliant. I love the fact he's learned because he didn't brand Lex, he branded his cell. Yeah. Like a constant reminder to Lex, don't fuck with me, but I'm not going to brand you, like he's learned from his experience.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Lex at the end did look like a little scared after he'd left, after all that he's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, who is he?
Not Doomsday. Darkseid.
The reason I say who is he is I mentioned to Simon, is it going to be Darkseid? Because logically, if they're already planning out a Justice League Part 2, you want the biggest threat during that. Lex has the computer. He saw the computer with all knowledge of the known universe. Brainiac had ties to Kryptonians and was seeking that exact knowledge. Why couldn't it be Brainiac for the next one?
That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be Brainiac.
That because all that Krypton technology was activated, it would make complete and total sense. That would beacon the creation of Doomsday would be a beacon that would draw Brainiac to Earth.
That would make sense. I can see that. That makes sense. I didn't think about that, but that does make a lot of sense.
I just felt like Mo said with the Darkseid at the end, like leave your big bang.
I do have to say, second favorite line in the entire movie is near the end when Batman and Wonder Woman are standing there looking down at Superman's grave and all that stuff. And he just turns to Wonder Woman and he's like, I failed him in life. I will not fail him in death.
Yep.
I was like, that's such a great line.
That's why I was on about we didn't need extra people there, because I felt stuff like that made it so it was pretty obvious that the biggest doubters were now there, and Superman's legacy is going to be in the Justice League itself and stuff too as well. When he comes back, he's every bit the hero we wanted him to become, and I'm like, that's awesome. He's Superman. That's fucking awesome. Because one thing I hate about Superman is people get him wrong. When people write him, like, as much I didn't like Superman the animated series that much because they only concentrated on the Boy Scout and what Superman could do. Whereas this film concentrates on, like they said, what he should do, but also on what he inspires in those around him.
Yes.
And I feel that's the one part people don't get about Superman is, yeah, a lot of people say, oh, he's too perfect and stuff, which he might be a little perfect, but when he's written wrong, he's too perfect. When he's written like this, his weakness is because he has a super. This is going to sound stupid. I'll say he has a super heart.
I completely agree.
Therefore, like Batman would be brought to his knees by Bane. Batman would be broken by Bane. Superman would be broken if anything had happened to his mother. And that's the difference. That's why Superman's important, and that's what this film shows. Because like I said, like Batman, what broke the bat, like I said, it was Bane. Superman, when was the last time you actually saw Superman on his knees, almost completely defeated? And it was just because someone took a photo, and they didn't even have to say cheese and die. Thank you, Jim. I knew Jim would appreciate that one. It's called a box, son.
Oh, right, so...
But, yeah, I completely agree. And that's exactly what they did with Batman and Superman. Superman inspired Batman. He became that which he is supposed to be, which is he is supposed to inspire people, and that's what he did in this movie.
Truth, justice, in the American way.
Yep. And I will last thing I will say is the fight was better than I thought it would be.
Yes.
The fight was pretty good.
I loved the fight, but I will admit, and this might just be me personally, Age of Ultron made me go into this thinking, oh, I like that big armoured Batman suit. I know he's got the other one. Oh, God. It's only going to be a 2-minute throwaway scene, isn't there? Like with Hulkbuster v Iron Man, where I was like so underwhelmed because most of it was in the trailer. Then this one, they bust out so many more fights than what was actually in the trailer. Like, when he was like dragging him, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. When he pulls it, he just swings him the fuck through. I was like, holy fuck! And part of me was like a little kid. I don't even want to know if this is how physics work. I just want it to.
I laughed when he broke off the freaking sink and smashed it over his head.
Yeah, like he literally hit him with the kitchen sink.
He did.
He literally with the kitchen. That fight's just wonderful.
Yeah, I love the scene where he's doing all that. He says something in the wall, he just punches like, ping. Oh shit! Superman's eyes light up red. He just throws him across the room.
The other thing I love about this fight is it does the one thing that everybody complains about Batman doing, and nobody has mentioned it because they accept it, and that is realize this fight was Batman with time to plan. He planned that entire thing to get Clark down there. He laid and trapped the entire fucking building.
To be fair, though, this isn't Batman with time to plan where you're like, no, they shouldn't have reacted this way. Superman knew it was a trap and walks into it. This is Batman like the Dark Knight Returns story, where it's only this. He set this one little bit up into a perfect place, and that's Batman with time to plan that I will accept. I will accept Batman with time to plan if he's setting up his surroundings around one area, not if he's going to predict Deadshot will miss.
I don't know. I just love the fact that they set that up so that you know this is the Batman, and you know that Batman has the capacity to plan shit out to the nth degree. If he knows who he's going against, he will fucking trap your ass, and there is not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
I will say, yep, but I will say I love the fact, like I said, they drew on the Dark Knight Returns for this heavily, which is one of my favorite Batman stories, one of my favorite comic stories. It does the one thing in that and this that I'm always like, really? Batman knows what Superman can do.
Right.
Why the fuck is one of his gadgets bullets?
I think he had to at least try because he hasn't yet.
Yeah, but that would essentially be like me going, Jim, me and you, a fight to the death, and then throwing confetti at him. He's not going to be like, oh no,
My one weakness.
He's just going to be like, really, confetti? That Superman bullet is just really bullets.
Well, I think from the way it looked, I think the gas and the bullets were to distract Superman long enough for Batman to get in position so he could shoot him in the face with a kryptonite gun.
I think they were, but I will say I loved that bit as well when the kryptonite starts to wear off, Superman comes after Batman again, and I love that bit when Superman flies and Batman's like, and shoots him again, damages his mask, but takes out Superman again, and you're like, holy fuck, that's awesome. Like, it wasn't as one-sided as people like the Batman's kryptonite ring thing where he just dominates Superman. No, they showed that if Superman wanted to, he would have ripped Batman apart. Like, if Superman hadn't gone in there with trying to be Mr. Reasonable, he could have just heat visioned his head off and been gone.
Yes.
If I wanted you dead, it would be done already.
Yep.
Alright, so final opinions?
Yes.
Why don't you kick it off, you?
Alright, I really like this, and,
You were Steel.
yeah, so I liked how it had contained so much in it. I feel like it was like a chocolate chip cookie, it was all the little chocolate chips in there, and there's so much to enjoy, all the little bits. And it was just super awesome.
But then you find a French fry that teases your next meal, and you're like, holy fuck.
Find a French fry in my chocolate chip cookie. There is something fucking wrong.
Maybe I messed up your metaphor. You find a French fry, like, oh my god, yes, this is teasing my McDonald's that's to come.
No, okay. But anyway, and that's what I really liked about it, because, all the little bits in there, and then it made something awesome and whole that was super great and satisfying, but then you can enjoy all the little bits, too. And that's what made this really awesome, so I really liked it, and I'd give it, an 8.5 out of 10.
And I'm going to have to say, I hate you for using a cookie analogy, Pio.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jim happens to have a mustache at the end, he's going to feel the need to go, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Now that you said that, now Jim's going to have to do that. Congratulations, Mole. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Anyway, Mole, your final thoughts.
Yes. But, did he do it because I predicted it? Matrix logic, did he knock it over? Would he have knocked it over if I hadn't addressed it? God, the Matrix is so fucking wonderful. But yeah, I love this film. It's very philosophical. I will just say for the record, I will just say they do a great job of building up Batman as a hero and Superman as a hero, neither's Iron Man as a villain. And number two, pause just to smile at Jim. Yeah, I said A then two. What are you gonna do? But yeah, number two, the Batmobile is wonderful. They've put so much time and effort into all the gadgets that I can even mention, as I've mentioned in the past to the others as well. I have this made by them, the guidebook
Hero
that does
Handbook.
the Hero Handbook that does wonderful stuff. Like it tells you, for example, which you may not have realised, you know the Batmobile.
Yep.
Do you realise there's no windows?
Yeah, it's like an armored shell.
Yeah, but you know how Batman sees? He uses
Camera.
thermals,
Ah.
and there's a thermal display inside there, so he can be seen when he goes through fog and stuff. He still knows what's there. That's genius. Like they've put so much love into like how this world functions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you because they don't need to be like, hey, this is how this functions. Because I would argue, when was the last time I was doing a review of say a PS4 game, I felt the need to say, look, this is how this control pad functions. I don't. It's part of the world, and that's wonderful. Wonder Woman, like I said, she may not have looked or really been the part for the fighting bit, but the normal bit, like the dialogue and stuff, was pretty fun. So she was cool. The cameos were good. Lex, I can go either way with because, like I said, he's the most evil we've ever seen. Lex, that's fucking brilliant. And yeah, I'd give this a solid 2 thumbs up, and I'm definitely going to be purchasing the extended edition when it comes out.
Also, if you want to know more about them all, they actually have released a Batman Superman Dawn of Justice tech manual that I saw online the other day, so you can also get that if you want to learn more about the Batmobile and the plane and all the other cool stuff.
Nice.
Jim, keep talking.
Indeed. I enjoyed the movie, but, and I don't know if it's because I saw too much in the trailers or whatever, I don't know, but I didn't come out of it with that same feeling of, I absolutely loved and enjoyed that movie, I gotta talk about yada yada. I didn't come out with that same feeling. I don't know why. I did enjoy the movie. There were a lot of great parts to it, but I did also feel like they crammed a lot into this movie, and I feel like that that hurt the overall movie. That they tried to do so many things that there wasn't as much attention on any one, and it would have been more interesting if they had, been able to focus on, more individual aspects rather than having, like I said earlier, like 3-4 movies in one. But that said, what they did was still really great. The actors are all great in their roles, particularly Ben Affleck as Batman. It looks beautiful. I like what they did with Doomsday. Lex was okay as a character, even if he wasn't Lex. And so it's got some problems, but it's overall a good film, and I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with the DC universe from here. If I had to rate it, I'm going to give it an 8. Solid 8.
Fair enough. I have to agree with Jim. I also left the theater feeling a little underwhelmed. I did not leave the theater feeling, oh, this movie is fucking awesome, I need to talk about it. I left the theater going, well, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. And I am going to be buying the extended edition because, goddamn, it's worth it for the
Everybody's buying the extended edition.
But, I don't know, I didn't like Lex. He was, like Jim pointed out, he's a good character. He's a good foil to Batman and Superman in this. He wasn't Lex. I thought the editing was all over the place. Like, the pacing was kind of off. And like Jim pointed out, they tried to throw in a lot, and I felt some of the ratios were off a little bit. But on the whole, everything else, cinematography, costumes, actors and actresses, everything was so good, and everything was well thought out. I mean, as one pointed out, they put a lot of thought into the world of the Batman, and just the world in general, but the level of detail, if you watch this movie, you see the scenes in like the Batcave, you see the Batplane, you see the Batmobile, you see his gadgets, and they don't already explain it, but they show you how his stuff works. It's astounding what they've done with the Batman in this, and the level of detail he's got. And I was really surprised.
I like how with the mansion down, he built himself a new house down by the river, and it opens up to reveal a Batmobile driveway.
Yeah,
that was awesome. But
to be fair, they put the same amount of effort into Superman too. Like,
yes.
they gave people a reason for the Superman statue that's normally there. It's not the same one, but they gave us a statue for it.
Yes.
If you seek his monument, look around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great line too. But yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff with this movie, and as Mo pointed out, and I believe Zack Snyder himself even said, "Look, this is a movie for the fans. This is a movie for fans of the characters and the comics." And you know, we made the movie with that in mind, and it shows that they took great care with the world and the characters and stuff. Yeah, it's not something you're really used to. Yeah, it might not be the Superman or Batman you know and love, but the essences of all the characters are there, and they pulled it off very, very well. And I again look forward to that Blu-ray DVD when it comes out. So I will rate this a firm. I'll rate this a firm 8 out of 10. It was a good movie. So, yep, that was our thoughts on Batman v Superman. What did you guys think? Comments below. We'll take a look at them. May even respond to them. And for that, I'll now be signing off. I was your host, Marcus Shadow. For Chriz the Mole, James Phoenix, and Anastasia Lazerbeam, thank you all for joining me.
You're welcome.
A pleasure.
And he was going to be silent. Fair enough. Happy Easter, everyone.
See, I thought like a wave was good enough.
Fair enough.
Pew of steel. Pew, 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 pew. Eh.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.